if you skip round 1, then it just doesn't count towards your resistance, but instead it counted as if they had beaten somebody who went completely undefeated, so as if they had beaten an 11-0 player. Um, and which totally skewed things. So he should have gotten 5th or 6th for seeding, but instead he got 9th, and only top 8 got buys. And
Ah,
because
okay.
of this bug, then he had to play an extra round, which was into like complete nightmare matchup. And not only that, but he had assumed that he was getting the buy, so he like left the venue to like take a break. But then people started pinging him on Discord like, wait, you didn't get the buy for some reason, you need to go play your game. So he had to go running back in and with like no time to prepare and just instantly like, play the game. And then even then he still almost won, but then he just like lost one like 50-50 at the end.
Hmm.
So it was really unfortunate.
Yeah,
Um,
that does
but
sound
yeah, it's like,
unfortunate. But to be fair,
yeah.
if you're playing VGC, I kind of can't feel bad for you if you lose a 50-50 because VGC is like a whole series of just basically 50-50s, at least in my opinion. We've talked about this already, and I know you think a little bit differently, but I mean, yeah, I definitely, of course, it's always educated guess and blah blah blah, but
Yeah, it's like
I
the
don't like
better, like
VGC.
it's the same with singles, where it's like the better you get, the more experienced you are, then you're basically able to like make it less just like hard prediction reliant. Like you can
Hmm.
play in a way so that like, you know, you can make a move that's good regardless of the situation. So
Yeah.
like if you're like just starting out at singles, then it could also seem like, oh, it's completely random, like what they're gonna switch to, whether they're gonna stay in or attack. Like, it's just like 50-50s.
Yeah.
There's no skill involved, but obviously like, you can put yourselves in situations where that isn't a thing.
Yeah,
Um,
true.
and it's the same thing here. But
I
just
would
like
say it's probably
the
not
whole
the
universe
same
is
thing.
fired in winning worlds.
I
Well,
would
yeah,
say
in
it's not
doubles
the
it's just
same
like
thing. It's
harder
more.
to
It's more
like,
unknown because you have so many more variables,
yeah,
right? You have first of all you have two mons that could do stuff and they could switch out, and then of course you have the big thing with protect. That's like something you don't have because if you have it in singles, protect is just a lost turn. Nothing happens to you unless it's like high jump kick or sucker punch or whatever. That's these kinds of 50-50. It's basically sucker punch versus not sucker punch every time because you can't just say, okay, if he protects, I lose nothing because there's a second one that can act. So you have that 50-50 baked into the entire thing all the time, and
it's a
that's
combination of that plus the games being way shorter. So if you get one turn wrong,
yeah,
then
and
it's
you're on the
going
back
to
foot
impact the
immediately.
entire game
Yeah,
a lot more. Whereas
and
in singles, if you get one read wrong, well, if you lose the game off of one read, then you're probably playing badly anyway. So
yeah, but that's one thing, and also the fact that you it's like 4 months, right? So it's really short games. That also means that you get the lead matchup wrong, which is also a guess, and then you're also immediately on the back foot. That's a little bit like it is in battle spot singles. In battle
yeah, I
spot
was going to
singles,
say that where it's like
yeah,
not just the lead, but also which mons you choose to bring.
yeah,
Like, versus Dead Pants, I just like got it wrong both times.
hmm,
To be fair, I was like in a terrible mental space. I was like super busy. I'm like, okay, I have like this one time that I can like try to fit this game in, so I'm just gonna try to get it out of the way. And I really should not have done that, but yeah, but I ended up just bringing like all of the wrong mons and just like losing.
yeah, exactly. That's the kind of unknown I'm talking about. It's still a thing in singles, in like regular singles, but it's much less so in my opinion, and that's why I don't like it. I don't like these guessing games. I hate it. I hate doing sucker punch mind games, and I hate doing like guessing the lead in battle spot. Even though it is fun for a while, but it's just in my opinion, yeah, I don't like it personally. But yeah,
I'm really curious once I get my AI into a good spot whether it'll be better at singles or doubles. I'm guessing that it'll be
yeah,
better than at singles,
yeah.
but there is some like it's not completely straightforward because depending on how long I'm able to make it be able to like see into the future pretty much, then it may be really good at just like calculating the
C-
entire game out for
covering the
doubles
options.
because the game isn't that long.
Hmm.
So I can just know like for sure what like all of the different like uh variables are.
I
Whereas in
I
singles, it's
doubt
like
it.
you can. Oh yeah, like it's mostly gonna be in end games. It's not like turn one. It's gonna
Yeah.
be like, okay, if I go fake out here and whatever here, then
Yeah.
this results in me winning 80% of the time. Like
Hmm.
that's not gonna be a thing. But if it's like like 2 turns or 3 turns away from like the game ending, then I
Yeah.
think it'll be like pretty good at like figuring out what the
It
best
it
course
won't
of action is.
it won't choke stuff. Like it wouldn't do
Mhm.
what I did against Kung Fu Panda in week 1, and we're gonna talk about that later. Where you
Yeah.
just have like a 100% win, and you just, because you're exhausted and it has been 130 turns or whatever, and you're just not seeing it. That's like something that of course AI would not be doing.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
obviously
But the
it's
main trick is like like when you're in the middle of the game or at the beginning of the game, you won't be able to like calculate all the way to the end. So you can only go forward like so many branches, and then you have to have some sort of like evaluation that you apply to each like game state at that point, which like should represent who's winning, and by how much. So it's like the same thing with like chess and stockfish. Um, but the trick is having an evaluation function that actually works. And I think I have something that's like pretty good in theory. Well, not pretty good, really good in theory, but I'm gonna have to like test stuff out. And the main thing I am curious about is stall, like specifically the stall mirror matchup. Um, I'll have to see if it actually is able to figure out how valuable PP is.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm not sure if I'll have to like add in some like specific thing in the training data for it, or like how much I'm going to have to like help it on that front.
Mhm.
um but I
Yeah,
think everything
it's
else is fine. Like it should be able to easily understand that like entry hazards are valuable, but also not like you know always try to go for them, so it's not going to try to like set up rocks when there's like 5 turns left.
mhm.
So
I
i,
mean,
I
yeah,
think it'll be.
sometimes it could be valuable, of course, but yeah,
Mhm.
it's really exciting, just the entire project. But personally, I think the game is just insanely complex. Like there are so many variables. It's like way worse than chess in that regard, because chess is like super easy in a sense, in that you exactly know what each piece does, and it's the same every time, and there are so many less variables. So in a way,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, that's
it's
why I think a lot of people are like, well, most people who have tried this before are going about it the wrong way, because they basically just like feed in either like raw replay data or just like raw game states and then expect it to get good, which I think is pretty unreasonable. Um, which like, especially the way that they just like format things, like leads to them like like Ditto and Zoroark and things like that just like completely breaking it. Um,
yeah.
but I think instead, like being able to like calculate values for each mod in the game state. So basically, having like a value that vaguely represents how well it breaks and how well it can sweep slash clean. Um, and like those numbers like basically account for both like how valuable all of your mons are offensively and how valuable all of your opponent's mons are defensively, without having like too many numbers. Because as long as I can like the goal is to minimize the amount of numbers that I'm putting in, but make sure that those numbers correlate to who's winning in some way, and then I have the neural network like make that connection. So turn those like 12 numbers into one number, and then I can use that one number to figure out who's winning.
Hmm.
Instead of just like putting in, oh yeah, so you have all these mons, these are all of the moves, these are all of the stats and items and abilities, and this is the weather, this is the terrain, these are what screens are up, this is whether Parish Song is active. Like if you just throw all of that at it, then
Mhm.
there's no way that it's going to figure out what any of this shit means.
Hmm.
Like
So you basically have to be do like more of a heuristic type approach.
yeah, so you go heuristic to an extent, but just to like basically simplify the game state down in ways that like
That makes
I
sense.
know like that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um but obviously not go too far such that I'm making all of the decisions heuristically. I'm not actually making any decisions here. I'm just like putting the game state in a way that it's able to like better understand and actually learn things about, and then I can train it on that.
Hmm.
Um, and then hopefully it'll be good at the game.
Well,
And
that is that is really really exciting. So one day, let's say PWC season 13 is probably too early, but maybe I don't know, in a year
I
from
don't know.
now
Someday I'll want to have it like try to compete in
in
draft
in,
league.
in bottom division one
Yeah,
day.
yeah. It'll start in bottom division, and we'll see how far I can go. At first, I want to test it on ladder because like ladder is probably gonna be easier for it. And also I'm gonna have a running database of like what all of like the teams on ladder are because like I'll have to have that for the training data as well.
Mm,
But also like it has the benefit of like if I want to go on ladder, then it'll be able to do stuff like it looks at their team and it can basically just like figure out with percentages what all of the sets are and then use
mm,
that decision making instead of just being completely blind. Whereas for draft, it's like harder to do that because in draft people bring weird shit like resist barriers and stuff.
mm.
So when you're trying to calculate stuff, it's like, okay, well, do you account for everything having resist barriers? That's like a bit overkill. So I'll probably have to like build my own like a draft teams database, which like will also feed into like doing stuff with Wiglet, where like having the whole like league leaderboard and stuff. So I can like pull that data to use for it. Um, uh, yeah,
Yeah,
that'll be further down the line. Like,
yeah, yeah,
first goal is just getting it to be able to actually play the game well, and then I can see if I can, have it do well at draft or be able to build its own teams or whatever.
yeah.
Because if it can build its own teams, then I can mock against the Wiglet. Then I don't have to mock against real people.
All right, that's a far look into the future. But yeah,
Yeah.
initially we were just gonna talk about the week one of the PWC, and this is gonna be the hopefully weekly. I don't know. I can't make any promises, but the goal is for this to be kind of weekly, a recap of each week, and it is gonna be called the PWC Pogcast. That's what it's gonna be called. I like that name.
Yeah.
Camel
And the
gave that
logo can
name.
just be the Hog and Rolla emote.
Yeah, exactly. That's gonna be the thumbnail. That's gonna be really cool because then I don't have to do a thumbnail. I hate that. So yeah,
Mhm.
we're gonna talk about what happened in week one primarily, but week two is also already at this point that we're recording it almost over. So maybe we're gonna look at some of what happened in week two as well. And yeah, I don't know how are we going to do it. Let's start with Wi-Fi. I want to start with Wi-Fi. I want to
Mhm.
work my way up to Sacred Division, and then I can say at the very end, I can say, ah, damn it, we're running out of time. We can't be talking about what happened in Sacred Division.
Yeah.
This is actually the
Everybody in Sacred is washed, so like we don't need to cover that.
exactly. So that way I can spare myself that. But yeah, all right. We're gonna start off with the Wi-Fi division. So let me ask first of all, who did you vote for? Did you bet on Wi-Fi
I
preseason?
think I think I forgot to bet on Wi-Fi, but my answer that I would have locked in is that I think that Fist is going to win the division because I
Yeah,
just think that's the safest bet.
yeah.
Um,
That's the try hard
would
bet,
it be
right?
cool if somebody can beat him? Yes, but if I had to bet on somebody, then it would be Fist.
Yeah, same. So I definitely made a bet for Wi-Fi, and also since I said multiple times I will try hard the bets, I definitely did that, and I picked Fist to Your Doom, even though it's kind of the boring bet. So for people who don't know, Fist to Your Doom is one of the like draft players that you know if you've been playing draft for a couple of years. Like he's a regular in some of the big draft leagues, and
He's a household name.
yeah, exactly. He's won like I don't know 30, 40 draft league championships over his time, and he's got ridiculous stats across the board, and he's like one of the most feared players in draft period. Like he might be like top 5 in the world or something ridiculous. So he's actually really really good at the game. And yeah, he has been in the PWC before, one season in season 9 where he played Wi-Fi. He did lose a game, that's like the biggest thing to say. One game against the guy who's not at the server anymore, but I still know the name. It's Jarok. Jarok beat him 1-0. But yeah, he won every other game. He also won the season, and he's back this season. Really cool for us. And yeah, so you can see what happened there. Week 1, 6-0. Like it started, how it ended. He just completely destroyed the opponent, which has not been Champion Braden actually. It's been Maki. Yeah.
You know, everybody that he beats, like every week, he's going to 6-0 somebody, and then they're gonna drop.
Yeah.
So we're gonna...
that's like not even a joke. That's what happened last season. Last season he was around in season 9. We at least had 3 drops that just resulted from him like completely breaking someone's will, and then the person who we would play against would message me and say like, oh, I'm so burned out with Mons, man, I gotta gotta quit the league. And it's so funny because that's like one-on-one what happened with Maki. Like he 6-0'd her or him, I don't know. And then Maki messaged Shadow, her messaged Shadow and told him, yeah, man, I'm just completely burned out with mods. So yeah, kind of what was expected there. But yeah, good start for Fist to your doom there. And we have a newcomer here, Champion Braden. We don't really know anything about him, but definitely wish him all the best in his endeavors here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Then the second game was Pup returning once again versus Ashton. So yeah, definitely 2 notable coaches in the server. So yeah, do you have an opinion on Pup? That's one thing I was going to ask you.
I think that Pup is good. I played him last season in Wi-Fi. I think it was week 2, and he was the only person to actually kill my Alamamala all season, except for you in that one-sided drunk game that we had. But the way that he did it was he brought a mixed Terra Electric Basculin. So he had a special Terra Electric Terra Blast, and that just one-shot my Alma Mala with Expert Belt. And I was totally not expecting that. And I wasn't like calking at that moment, so I was thinking like, wait, is this like Choice Band Basculin? But I don't think that even Choice Band could kill this, so what is going on here? But then later I found out that it was Expert Belt. So that was really cool. And then I 6-0'd, well, I 5-0'd him with Volcarona after that.
Oh, you still won, right? Of course, yeah. You didn't lose a single game in Wi-Fi last season. I remember, yeah.
Yeah, the only game that I lost was when I was fucking wasted.
When you were incapacitated. I mean, to be honest, we're gonna talk about this season, of course, but I want to get that point across. I don't think, honestly, you would have won that game regardless, because I had the way better pieces, in my opinion. Like, I get what you said. You said you were gonna pressure me with rocks and stuff, and I guess that was an out. But I still think like my pieces, yeah, like you had 0 answers to Fez under the pity, whatever, and you also didn't really have like your answer to Scyther was recoil damage, and that's like that would have broken a lot of your team. And the moment Clefable...
Well, that was kind of the idea, though. It's like, you can argue that you had a good matchup depending on what you brought. I think you also argued that you had a good matchup when we played originally, but then I
No.
you or whatever.
No. That's not absolutely not true. I thought I had a horrible matchup. I actually took a long time in prep, like not for the regular season match. I built in like 10 minutes, but for the playoff match, I took a long time to figure out how to even tackle your team, because I thought my matchup was horrible. Like nothing really did anything. I had to pull out like the Ungabonga Scyther with the Terra Flying, of course, because it was just powerful enough to break. And then I had to pull out the freaking double kick Fez to do anything. And then you really didn't have a good answer for that.
Well, the thing is though, you can theory mon in from both perspectives as much as you want, but at the end of the day, my game plan was heavily based around having Hisui and Gudra and Clefable, and I literally just threw both of those away immediately. So I never really had a shot to actually play out that game.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. So like, sure, you can argue whether the matchup was good one way or another, but like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
So
that's true. Just one last thing on that. At I still remember how that went, and it is true. You made one big misplay, and you can say like, yeah, I was drunk there.
I made two really big
The
misplays.
the one big misplay that decided the game basically was when you, I think it was Fez
I
had
went
like
Olamamala and I flip turned assuming I would be slower, but I had dropped the
exactly
speed with G
exactly.
because of double kick.
And then you
Also, I
switched into
couldn't stay
Clef,
in
which
because
was
the
like the
Gudra
worst
was
one to switch into because, like, at that point, like Gouging Fire had won the game. But the misplay before that was when you, or the misplay, quote unquote, that you talked about was when you switched into Gudra on Pity as I sword stanced, and then I was at +2, and you were sitting in front of me with Gudra, and you didn't think of double kick being a thing in that moment. But at the moment, that didn't matter what you do. You had 0 outs. You were going to lose something. Maybe you could have chosen a better sack, but you, at that point, you definitely were on the back foot. And it would have happened
what the
every
out
time
was.
I got Pity in. So I think at that point, I was really in the lead already. So that's just
What
my
the out was
two.
is I was going to go Olamamala on double kick, but I kid you not, I remembered double kick as soon as I clicked the move with
Mhm.
with Hisui and Gudra.
Yeah, but
And yeah, that was a
going Aloe was not an out, though. It wasn't. Because, like, I can still break through Aloe, and maybe Aloe can slow flip turn, but you didn't have a switch into Fez, which would have killed it because Fez was at full, and then like with only the double kick chip, I could have roosted on that first of all, and then like only the flip turn chip would not have brought me in range of anything, so something would have died there. I think, yeah.
well,
Anyway, we can
I
talk
guess
about that all day,
yeah,
but
but
I think it would have been a good game for me, or favorable game for me anyway.
mhm.
But yeah,
But yeah, we should talk about the actual scrims.
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, Pup versus Ashton. This was a 3-0, and yeah. So I would say like this was a good match, of course. Like just from the participants, like Ashton is definitely also a good player. But yeah, I don't think that's a huge sensation there, Pup winning the game.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, with that, we can move on to the next one. Shadow Glade versus Delphin Squared. And yeah.
Yeah, so I will say that Shadowglade is using an actual signature this season. Pikachu was not a real Mon last season, so that was kind of a pretty free matchup for me when I played him that time, which is like kind of funny when like, you go into Dragapult and you actually feel good about it. That's just like it's a testament to just how bad Pikachu is. Flareon is actually a good Mon, so I expect that he's gonna do a lot better this season, like more up to standard with how he usually performs.
Mhm.
So him
Yeah,
winning this week one
it's
isn't
interesting.
that
I'm
surprising.
sorry, I didn't want to cut you off there.
No, I was done. You should
Yeah.
say your piece.
Um, yeah, it's interesting. I can't really recall Shadow ever using a real signature, quote unquote. Like that's his gimmick, so to speak. He chooses like whack signatures every season. Like one season, he actually won with Misdreavus as a signature, which is also not a real one. Then he had like I think the first time he played here, he had like Camerupt as a signature. Then he had one time he had Volt Orb Hisui as a signature. Like not even
Yeah, but the thing about all of those mons, right, is that they're like funny and they actually have stuff going for them. Like
Mhm,
Misdreavus is a pretty cool mon.
mhm.
Like Camerupt, like especially with Terra, there's a lot of stuff it can do. The thing about Pikachu is that for one, it's not even funny. It's just like it's literally as mainstream as you can possibly get.
Yeah.
It's like the mon that like somebody who likes to role play as Ash drafts and then they just like or even just brings to OU, they just bring Pikachu and like 5 OU mons, and then the Pikachu just does absolutely nothing. But the thing about Pikachu, though, is that in Showdown, it's an actual pick because it gets Terra Normal Extreme Speed. In Wi-Fi, it does not get Extreme Speed.
Mhm.
So literally the only thing it has going for it is gone. So basically you're just left with a really frail mon that can hit kind of hard,
Hmm.
but
But it
in
kills
exchange
itself in like,
you don't get an item like
yeah,
any week. Like you have to run the same item every week, otherwise it's completely useless. The speed is not that good, and it dies to literally every hit. Like I
yeah,
think it died to like non-stab Torn T Sludge Wave or something.
yeah,
So
definitely. It has
yeah,
zero
it's
defense.
really bad mon, but Flareon is actually good. So
Yeah, and you can tell with the result, like he won his first game pretty comfortably. Also, his season motto is all about the Ursa Luna Blood Moon, which he drafted. So he's trying to check the fraud allegations against Deadmon, and he's trying to actually make it work. Which, yeah, he definitely got off to a good start there with it. I think it also did something in the game. I didn't see it yet on YouTube. The recording is already out, but I'm gonna check it out, and I think it did something.
I don't know who's calling Blursa a fraud.
It,
I think that mon has always been good, but
yeah. I mean, I had it once. I didn't do well with it, but I
and
also think
I
it
should
is.
do
It
a
should be good
uh,
in theory, definitely.
I should draft Dragapult and then do a series saying like, is Dragapult a fraud? People are going to be figuring out whether Dragapult is a good mon or not.
Yeah, that's also, by the way, what Pup is doing. Like, I saw his video on like his draft recap for the PWC, and yeah, his big title line was like, "Is Weavile a fraud?" So yeah, we have
Yeah.
a lot of fraud checks going on this season.
Mhm.
All right. Yeah, and then for Delphin Squared, like Delphin Squared is a returning coach. Let's just really quickly didn't get off to a great start, but he may
I
be able
mean,
to
he
bounce
has
back.
Iron Bundle, so I expect that he will only win at most 80% of his games. So losing one is expected.
Yeah,
But he's probably gonna go 7-1 after this, so it's fine.
yeah, that sounds realistic. I think he already, you can look down, he already lost his week 2 as well. But to be fair,
Oh,
he did play 2 of the PGP guys, so that's kind of forgivable to lose them. Like,
okay.
it would be kind of offensive to beat the PWC PGP squad. That's like
Mhm.
blasphemy. So I'm glad he didn't do that.
Yeah, because if you beat somebody on the PGP team, then you get their spot. That's how it works. So
Exactly. Yeah. So Delphin, unfortunately, doesn't look like he may get a spot on the PGP roster, but who knows? Maybe he will bounce back and win the season, and we might think about that again. Next game, we have returning coach, Final Gambit Shedinja, and Server Legend. Many people who have joined recently might not know about Firemaster MT, but those of you who have been around for longer definitely know his name. He's been around ever since season 4, has played like 7 seasons or so already. Like, should be a household name. But yeah,
Mhm.
unfortunately lost his week 1 to Final Gambit. So yeah, definitely a good start for the Shedinja here. Not much else to say for me, unless you.
Yeah, I will also see that neither player has three like top tiers, so like 16 plus. Actually, looking at this, well, actually no, in Wi-Fi it's wait, is it different in Wi-Fi? Is
No,
it 14 plus or is it also
mm,
16 plus?
that's a good question, actually.
Let me
Like
check the
people,
rules. Well, actually, no, I think it was backwards, where it used to be 14 plus for Showdown and then 16 plus for Wi-Fi, but now it's 16 plus for everything.
yeah, the
But
rules
yeah, it
say
looks like
16 plus.
a lot of teams in Wi-Fi do not have three 16 plus months.
Interesting.
Wait, actually, wait, are there any teams that have three? Let me check.
Uh,
Okay, so Shadow Gallade has three, and nobody else does.
yeah, it's only
Kind
Shadow.
of
I
crazy.
just checked about that out myself. Yeah, it's only Shadow. So interesting. Didn't even know that. But yeah, that was definitely a good win for the final Gambit Shedinja. And yeah, with that, we can move on to the next game. Ronan Sting is back once again in Wi-Fi after he was the runner-up last season. And yeah,
Hmm.
he got off to a really solid start here. He won 4-0 against the newcomer Pyrotech, who we also don't really know anything about, or at least I don't. And then he also played his week 2 already against Delphin Squared. So yeah, both 4-0 wins, really solid start for him. And
Yeah, my only knowledge of Pyro is I've played against him in a VGC drafts league. But obviously that doesn't like necessarily correlate with how good you are at singles. So I not sure, but I know that he was pretty good in the VGC league. So um,
yeah, maybe.
usually people who are good at like VGC draft are like usually like pretty solid at regular draft as well. But
Mm,
again, it's Ronan. He's one of the stronger players that we have in here. So
yeah,
um, I think
it's
he's going to finally win a season.
yeah. So
Maybe he'll have to eventually smurf his way down to Division 4 to get a win, but eventually it'll happen, right?
yeah, it's so weird, man. Ronan, it's really funny the way he keeps the win keeps eluding him in this league. Like he's made it to finals 2 times now, and of course both times it didn't end up winning it. But like it's not that. It's more so the fact that he's never missed playoffs. Like every single he's played 7 seasons or something crazy at this point, and sometimes he's played
Mhm,
multiple divisions, and he made playoffs every single time. And yeah, never actually ended up winning it so far, but maybe this season. He definitely got off to a great start here. And
mhm.
yeah, we'll see if Pyrotech is able to bounce back. Would be cool to see, definitely. Then yeah, we have the next match. The next match is an interesting one to me because it's two really interesting players, I think. So on the one hand is Lego Leon. Guy that no one will know much about because he's never been in the PWC, but I've known him since like 2021. He's been playing in Brad Pudding's old league, the CPL, where we also got to know Caracasa. So that's where like many of the guys actually come from. Like Barney 2005 made his debut there. Brad obviously is from there. Caracasa is from there. That was also his first league. And Lego Leon is actually Caracasa's cousin, so they are,
Oh wow.
yeah, yeah. And not only that, but he's also like, he's normally, okay, this is gonna be controversial, but I'm just gonna say it. I think he's like almost as good as Caracasa, not quite, but like back in the day at least. So I'm
Mhm,
really excited to see how he's gonna do here, if he's gonna be able to shake the rust off because he's been inactive for a while. But yeah, got off to an unfortunate start here, narrow defeat to Teriso. And Teriso is really interesting because Teriso is like, he's, first of all, he's one of the Southeast Asians that randomly started flooding the league.
mhm.
And yeah, he's a YouTuber and he's a really cool YouTuber. Like, he has really good content and he has been having great results so far. He's won both his games. So yeah, definitely excited to see how he does here.
Mhm.
And Lego Leon is definitely a good win. Like Lego Leon of old, at least, was a really strong coach. So yeah, we will see if that's still the case. And then the solid win over Final Gambit Shedinja Week 2. And yeah, I can only recommend his YouTube channel for those of you who are interested in here. I'm just gonna hover over the replay link here so you can see the thumbnail. He's a really,
Mhm.
really fun guy in his videos. All right. And yeah, that's it for that game. And then we finally get to our protagonist, Mr.
Mr. Grimes, hell
Grimes.
yeah.
Yes.
He won his week 1.
Yes. And how did he win it? 4-0. Definitely very convincing. So yeah, do you want to say a sentence or two about Mr. Grimes, or because I could ramble on for days about that guy.
I mean, I think most people know about him, but if you wanna
Yeah.
give his qualifications, then
Not
I
so
mean,
much
all I
to.
can say is that he's stacking money to the moon. So
Yeah, exactly. He's known for the like WWE theme song of that one guy that he's named after,
Mhm.
Mr. Grimes. So yeah, I mean, Mr. Grimes, I don't even know how long he's been around in the PWC. He's been around forever, but yeah, he's basically one of the most colorful personalities we have, like period. If you haven't watched the coach reveal video, please do it. It's like the
Oh yeah,
funniest thing
it's really
ever.
sweet.
It's hilarious. Like he does 2 segments. He does Division 1 and Division 4, I think. And like that's just straight up comedy. Sometimes I still listen to it on my way to work just because it's so damn funny. Um, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, He's a character, and he started off in Division 4, and he's slowly been working his way up. Like his results are improving. He won his home league, DPL, quite recently, the second division there. And yeah, now he's basically in quote unquote Division 1 light, as I view Wi-Fi, which has like the top end is like Division 1 worthy. Like I would say, like maybe coaches 1 to 5 are Division 1 caliber, and then obviously you have like the transition into some of the lower tiers in terms of coaches, maybe. At least that's how I view it. And
Wi-Fi is always going to be a large range of players since we only have one division. I
exactly.
think it would be cool if we can have multiple Wi-Fi divisions someday, but it's just harder to find Wi-Fi coaches. So,
Yeah.
eventually we will have half of the league be Wi-Fi, and we'll finally be able to get a Pokegame MD to join.
Exactly.
But that will be the goal for season 15. I don't know.
Yeah, that's after the AI makes waves and people will will join to see the AI play and destroy
Yeah,
everyone.
I'll make a YouTube video on it, and I'll bring a bunch of people into the
Yeah.
PWC.
It's gonna get like 400,000 views, and then we're finally mainstream, baby. But yeah, Mr.
Yes.
Grimes, huge win against the newcomer Abyss Array. Which do you know anything about Abyss Array?
I do not. I think I saw the application, but I don't remember anything
Yeah, I don't
about it. But
even.
I do see Hisui and Avalok Terracap and Iron Valiant.
Mm.
But also there is a Zapdos, and I think a lot of people will know that Zapdos is my least favorite mon of all time. So, yeah, that's 1 point against them.
Mm.
But Mr. Grimes's team, on the other hand, for Ridgeraff, one of the strongest signatures, especially in Wi-Fi. Honestly, the strongest point against why people should not be drafting Weirdier, because it's just a better version of Weirdier.
Mm.
But also, I think, isn't it the only signature to be drafted in every division?
That's exactly true. There's one signature that has been drafted everywhere, and that is Farigiraf. And the second most picked up, so that's we have 7 divisions. It got picked up 7 times, obviously, and the second most picked signature was like 4 times. So there's a separation of 3 between Farigiraf and the second most popular signature, which is a 4-way tie between Scyther Lapras, Driftblim, and obviously the word deer, Wordier, but obviously Wordier is like kind of pushed by the Starvin narrative. So like it's a
Yeah.
meme in the server, and people go along with it. But yeah, it's basically Farigiraf, and then there's Scyther, Lapras, and Driftblim, which people seem to be thinking are good signatures.
Yeah, I like for Ridgeraff because, like, things like Scyther and Driftblim, they're very clearly, like, you run it as an offensive mon. I mean, Driftblim does have defensive utility, but usually you're trying to bring some sort of, like, unburdened CM type thing. Um, but Farigiraf is one of, like, the defensive signatures that has really caught on recently, but it can also run like offensive if you want it to. So those are like my favorite kinds of signatures. It's pretty similar to like Zatu last season, where it's usually a defensive mon, but you can just sweep people with it, and your opponent has to account for both. And same goes for Regigigas, of course, but Regigigas is in Wi-Fi especially, Regigigas is not nearly as good.
Yeah, it's
Unfortunately.
that's a wild pick, of course, but yeah, for Farigiraf
Yeah.
definitely. It also has that sip separability, which is like it goes really well with Terra because you can like so many typings you can Terra into as a bulky mon that you enjoy. Like obviously the most obvious one being Terra Water, which just makes it so much better with the grass immunity. So yeah, really interesting mon for sure. Can do a lot of things, like you said, and yeah, I can understand why many people think it's a good one. And I hope Mr. Grimes can make good use of it, as he has been doing in his first game. All right, and then we have the last match. We have Caltech 13 versus the Bread Pudding official, the official bread pudding of the PWC. Yeah, who has been returning with a win here, which is great to see, definitely. I mean, Do you know? Have you ever played Bread Pudding? Do you know him from another
I
server?
have played in like the same league as him before, but I don't think that we ever played each other.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I don't think that I've ever played against him before. I just know that he is the Brazil's favorite player,
Yeah,
so obviously
exactly.
he's got to be good, you know.
So yeah, for people who don't know,
Yeah, I think we've got to play against each other someday because I am Brazil's #1 enemy and he's Brazil's #1 ally. So
ooh, that's gonna be the
showdown.
blockbuster.
Yeah,
Nice.
but I
So
do see he has the Scyther, so
he has the Scyther signature.
mhm.
Oh, nice,
I'll have
nice.
to see if Scyther can win the division 2 seasons in a row.
Yeah, I mean it might. It's a really. I think it's a really solid signature. Like
Yeah,
last
I do
season
feel
when
like
I had
Scyther is
it,
way better in Wi-Fi than it is in Showdown.
it's
Like, not
sorry.
to say that it's bad in Showdown, but I do think it's a lot better in Wi-Fi.
Why do you think that?
Just because like Scyther is a mon that like really benefits from like it's kind of counterintuitive where you would think like, oh, it's 4 times weak to hazards. So since there's like not nearly as much hazard removal in you know Wi-Fi, then it kind of struggles. But
Hmm.
like you're always going to be tearing, well, not always, but it usually likes to Terra to something that isn't like fully weak to rocks. Like obviously you can run like the Terra flying dual wing beat, but a lot of the time it likes to go like Terra ground or
Hmm.
something else that like maybe even resists rocks. So in those
Hmm.
cases you can run defog on it, and in Wi-Fi especially, having a signature with removal is really good
Hmm.
for the rest of the team
Hmm.
because you're not like forced to on removal. And obviously, you do have the Great Tusk, which can spin a lot, and also the Tentacruel. But Great Tusk always doesn't always want to like have to run spin. Like
Hmm.
sometimes you want to run like booster speed, bulk up +3 attacks, or maybe even like a sub bulk up set. So it's good to have that flexibility. But the main thing is that Scyther puts a lot of pressure on, and mons like that are really good when you are able to stack hazards. So that's why we see Great Tusk has rocks, Ogrepon Hearthflame has spikes,
Hmm.
Greninja also has spikes, Tentacruel has T spikes, Tinkaton has rocks. So obviously we see a lot of hazards on this team, and when you get all of those hazards going alongside good knockoff mons with like Great Tusk, Hearthflame, Tentacruel, Tinkaton, then it becomes way harder to actually deal with the Scyther because there are some mons that like can take 2 hits, but uh, basically none of those mons can like really take those hits when rocks and or spikes are also up. It's a similar thing to like Spectrier, where Spectrier is like obviously broken in like every format, but it's way more broken in Paldea decks because there's like no hazard removal, so it
Hmm.
really benefits from keeping those hazards up. So I feel like this team is definitely abusing like how well Scyther likes to have hazards up.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
So
definitely a very well composed team there, that plays to the strengths. I agree definitely. I would say, however, that the one big thing that I dislike about Scyther in Wi-Fi compared to Showdown is the absence of Roost is like a really big debuff for
yeah,
it because
losing
it
boost
it
is rough.
it
Yeah.
cuts like so much of what it would be able to do potentially, uh, of its potential, cuts completely away from it because of the absence of Roost. Because obviously it doesn't have the greatest defensive stats, but it does have the access to Eviolite, and that would make it more versatile as a signature. Obviously, the best set is always going to be like the offensive pressuring set, and it can sword stance and all these kinds of stuff that it can still do. And I'm not saying it's bad in Wi-Fi, and you listed why, but I still think the roost, not having roost, is like a big debuff for it,
And
which
it
I.
is a big debuff, but I don't think that that loss is like really makes up for like how in Showdown you don't like there's way more removal, so you don't really have all of those other things going for it, and then also there's just like a lot more options that it has to compete with in
Hmm.
Showdown.
Hmm.
Because there are a lot of really strong signatures that just aren't in the game in Scarlet and Violet, so
Hmm.
that's why mons like I say like for Richard Raff especially is like one of the best signatures in Wi-Fi. And it's obviously really good in Showdown too. It's just that there's more things that are also in contention for best signature.
Hmm.
Because you have to compete with like Drampa, for example, which does a lot of the same things, except it also has defog and it hits harder. It has Berserk and all these other things. So
And also, obviously, it also does have the sap zipper if it wants to. So yeah,
it also
Drampa.
has Tap Super, and then it also has
Yeah,
Cloud9 for anti-weather.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, in my opinion, Grandpa is the best signature, just like hands down. Obviously, like that's not the only correct opinion, but
yeah.
like there are
That's
some other ones that you can argue for. But yeah, as far as Wi-Fi, the landscape is a bit different.
so yeah, definitely. I agree about most of these things. And then for Caltech, obviously, unfortunate start. Currently, it's a little bit in the air whether Caltech will be able to play out the season because he has messaged, I think, Ashton, which is his week 2 opponent,
Yeah,
that
we can call it.
currently his Switch is not working because like his brother threw it out of the window or something like that. I don't know. So
His
yeah,
brother's trying to sabotage him.
exactly, because he
Pretty unfortunate.
doesn't want him to get the big PWC title. So yeah, that's
Hmm.
looking rough. But yeah, even if he decides to drop from the season, then we have replacements ready, of course. But yeah, in the meantime, we wish him all the best in his week 2 match against Ashton, and hopefully it goes well, better than the match against Brad Pitt. So yeah, I want to say in closing, not many upsets so far. Like the players that you were expecting to do well are doing well. Like you have Pup, by the way, who I think is like a really strong coach. That was my question to you initially, and I definitely agree. I think he's one of the strongest coaches in the league. Even he could be even worthy for the PGP roster, in my opinion. Maybe when that time comes up again. He did well, beat Ashton. Fist obviously got his big win. Ronan, who you would have to count amongst the favorites to duel. Shadow got his win. And then we have Brett Pudding, who I count as, if he can shake off the rust, like Prime Brett would definitely also be a strong contender for the title here. Those are like
Hmm.
my short list of favorites. So yeah, not
Yeah,
many big
I mean,
upsets here.
as we mentioned earlier, like there's a much wider range of players in Wi-Fi, so
Hmm.
it's like a lot easier to for there to be like a favorite to win.
Yeah.
Obviously, like it'll be harder if you have like coaches that are like more even in level. Like there's a lot of like more one-sided games for this week one especially. I
Hmm.
think if you had something like Pup versus Shadow Gallade, then it would be harder to like figure out like who the winner would be. I think
Hmm.
that if it's a Fist versus anybody, then you can reasonably bet on Fist winning. But that's not to say that like he's going to guaranteed go 8-0.
Nah, I
But
hope he won't. I hope he won't.
yeah,
Like, let's just check out the schedule. Like, this Wi-Fi segment is getting really long, man. We
yeah,
we can't do that 7 times, but
yeah.
yeah,
No, we can breeze through the other ones. There's just a lot to talk about
yeah,
for Wi-Fi.
exactly.
All
Yeah,
of these players have a lot of history, and we have
yeah.
some who are like returning. But like I was kind of gonna say, like for this league, there's like more clear favorites. Whereas with something like Azure or Gracidea, especially, not only do we not know like a ton about all those players since they're all new to the league,
Hmm.
but also they're all like on a more similar playing field. So
At least,
it's
hopefully,
like
like that's what the goal was
hopefully
there.
that's the idea.
Yeah, the
Based
idea.
on the
That's
applications, at least, it seems like most of them are
exactly.
pretty similar still.
So yeah,
Um,
let's just check out Fist's schedule really quickly. So he does play Brett week 2, like this week. That's a really interesting match. Like Brett, he used to be my absolute nemesis. Like back in the day, I was actually quite good, believe it or not. And he
you're
was
washed now, but you used
yeah,
to be good.
exactly. But I used to be kind of okay at least, and he used to be my absolute, like, in playoffs. I would meet him every time, and I lost to him multiple times in playoffs. Really annoying. So yeah, he could be a potential upset. I could see that. Then where do we have him in week 3? Oh yeah, Shadow
It's Shadow
Gallade.
Blade.
Ooh,
Mhm.
nice. So yeah, that's another good one.
And
Ashton week
Ashton week
4.
four.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
also
he
not
doesn't
easy.
have an easy. Oh yeah, and then Ronan
And
after that.
Ronan.
I think
Ooh, nice.
most of the strongest players
Yeah.
going up for like at least like the first half of his schedule.
Then you have
Um,
Firemaster, of
does
course.
he play against Pup or no? He does not play against Pup. He does play against Teresa week 8, so that'll be
Oh
another
yeah,
one
yeah.
too.
Oh, Chorizo is also appears to be at least a very good contender as well. So yeah, definitely interesting schedule. Like I feel if he just mows through everyone and goes 8-0 in this one, then there's like no point of bringing him back because like that's kind of what we have to offer, right?
You need to get him into top Showdown Division.
Yeah, that would be so nice, but I don't think he's gonna do it. Like, obviously, he has all the big leagues chasing him, and he's usually plays in them as well. Obviously, it would be like the dream would be for him to do top division, and also the dream would be for him to play for us in the PGP. But that's really gonna be hard to pull off because obviously, I think his home league is like the EDC, which is I think the second biggest league in the world, and yeah, I think that realistically he's gonna play for the EDC and PGP, but we are gonna see. Maybe I can suck up to him enough to the point where
Yeah, well, I mean, it just depends on if he wants to play for the winning team or not.
yeah,
So
that's his
if
choice, right?
he really wants to get that W, then he should join us. But
Exactly. Did,
otherwise,
did you
yeah.
know? Did you know that he? I don't know how to say it. He never actually won the PGP. Can you imagine that playing the PGP and not winning? That's like
Yeah.
how is that even possible? I couldn't even
Mhm.
imagine. Like if I ever not won the PGP, I would immediately retire. But that's
And
up
also
to
like
Fist.
we won the PGP, and that was even with me having like one of the
Ex-
worst seasons of my life.
exactly.
But like
Like
literally everything went wrong. Like I got hacks every week, and then like and also I don't want to say that the team that I drafted was bad. Like I think it was a really good team, but the matchups that I got every week were very unfortunate as well. And I think that you know I should have drafted something that's like more similar to what I usually bring.
yeah,
Um, because it's something where like I don't usually draft Iron Valiant. Like that's not to say that Iron Valiant is a bad mon or anything. It's just not like the kind of thing that I usually like to draft. So I think next season I'm going to like lock in with something that like is a more like standard draft for me, and then hopefully I've gotten all of the bad RNG out of the way. So I will hex everybody when we play it in Classic. So
yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna say that Camel sabotaged us, but I will say that I still have like back problems now. Just from carrying him all the way through the season, like we dragged
yeah,
Camel to this title, so yeah, maybe maybe he can make that up next time. No, yeah, obviously,
yeah.
yeah, PGP is a topic for the summer. That's gonna be fun for sure, and yeah, obviously we are gonna win it, and yeah, Fist can think if he wants to be a part of it or if he wants to lose with EDC once again. But yeah, I'm not
Mhm,
gonna make that decision for him. And yeah, with that, we can move on. I think from Wi-Fi, we've talked about it. Like I think
mhm.
we're probably like we're. Let me just check how long the recording is right now. Does it say anywhere? No, it
I don't know,
doesn't.
but I think
I
at
mean,
this point the threat is that we need to make this long enough so that it's something because the best viewer demographic is sleeping viewers because
yeah,
if they fall asleep while they're watching your video, then
yeah,
it'll autoplay onto your other videos
yeah,
and then you get more watch time.
yeah,
So we need to make this long enough where it's like 13 hours and then
yeah.
people just fall asleep like halfway through and then
You do know
they
that.
just lose all of the other PWC videos.
Yeah, you do know that I started this recording with you going on for like 15 minutes about your AI, so that's all in the recording as well.
Wait, are you going to include that in the final? That would be pretty
I,
funny if you did.
I was
If
gonna do
it's
it. Do
stronger,
you
I don't know.
do you watch Joe Rogan podcast sometimes? Do you
No,
know
I do not.
do you know how he does it? Like he will just like randomly have like the talk with his guests. They are talking like in the green room, and he just randomly his producer clicks record, and they just go like that. And that was the idea. So I was just gonna I clicked record like mid sentence, and you were going on about the AI, blah blah blah. No one is gonna understand what you're talking about, but I thought it would
Yeah,
be
okay.
fun. But I didn't anticipate us like going 1 hour on Wonder Division alone, and I was not planning on this video to be 7 hours long, to be honest.
Oh yeah. Wait,
So
okay, so I'm going to make everybody fall asleep by talking about Monte Carlo tree search.
exactly. To be fair, And we're not gonna go into a whole segue again, but I want to say, you like drop these terms like Monte Carlo tree search, and it's really interesting. I will just go to Wikipedia and check out what it is, and now I at least know what it is. And I think you also recently you dropped some other term like whatever nerdy distance, like word distance, where it's like
Oh,
how
it was
many how
letters
many
time distance.
changes do you need to make to a
Yeah,
word so that it becomes another word, and that's how you basically figure out which word the user probably meant to type. So that's also a really interesting concept. So yeah, please keep nerding out. It helps people learn a lot, I think. So
of
because you can,
course. Yeah,
yeah. All right. So yeah, we are here with the Gracidea Division next, the bottom
we can go
pile.
faster with this one.
Exactly. We can go very fast because realistically, we don't know anything about these coaches. Just looking at the first match, we have Spoots versus Amish Strip. So obviously both are new. We know that Spoots, I'm sorry, is like a fake account that's like Spooks' alter ego, like his evil
Yeah, of
side,
course.
like manifested in this person named Spoots. And yeah, he did take
Mhm.
a loss week 1, which is very unfortunate for our
They lost
PGP.
to Palafin Art Chaludon Rain. So
Oh,
that,
that is
kind of rough.
nasty. And yeah,
Mhm.
lost to Amish Drip, which makes me wonder. I thought like the Amish were not using electricity, and like,
No, that's the thing, right? Because the Archaludon never used Electroshock, and the
oh, that
reason is
makes
because
sense.
he not
Yeah,
bring Electroshock because he is Amish.
yeah, that's
Um,
true. And he probably also doesn't have like a kilo watch roll on his reign to him. Then I
well,
think.
so there was a Raging Bolt on the team, but the Raging Bolt never clicked a move, and that's
Yeah,
probably because it did not have any electric moves.
and that's also
So
probably because Amish Drip doesn't want to be like exiled from his community, right?
yeah. Hmm.
Because they are watching, and I think the machine that he's playing Showdown on is also like it's being like there's a mule that's like turning a wheel, which like keeps the thing going. I assume.
Yeah.
So that's
Or something like
probably
that. Or he might be sending his like he might be just like telling one of his non-Amish friends what the moves are, and then like his friend inputs the moves. Like I'm not sure what
that's
like loopholes are for Amish people. Like if they have a friend who is allowed to use electric appliances,
yeah.
um like I don't know. I'm not Amish, so we would have to consult the experts on that one.
Yeah, but it's definitely nice to see the huge diversity in the league, and yeah, we now have a huge chunk of players from East Asia, which we didn't really have before, many of them, and then now we also have an Amish person, which is Amish. What the hell? I can't talk, but yeah, you guys know what I mean.
Well, it's PWC Golden Age.
Exactly, exactly.
Anyway, moving on to the next one, we have one of the Spaniard squad, 6-0ing for week 1.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think the Spaniard squad are like some of the players that we like know the most about because they're like so active in the
Hmm.
server. Of course, Lilia and Pavi being the most active, who are both in Azure Division, but you know the rest of them being in Gracidea, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Those guys being, by the way, that's Hippie, that's Tommy, and who else? Hayaruki is also from one of the
mhm.
Spaniards. That's like those
Yeah.
three in this division.
Mhm.
Yeah, and Hippie, very very strong performance week 1. I remember I watched that live, playing against Max, who is a very young player, probably one of the youngest in the league. He is I think 14 is what he said. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's he's just starting out in his Mons career, and I think he's showing potential for sure. Like he might become very
Yeah.
good in the future, and that's
Yeah, I
exciting.
mean, he drafted Dragapult, which is the correct decision. So,
Exactly.
and also
Yeah,
not only that, but he did not bring Specs Dragapult, which is the number one pitfall of new players using Dragapult. So there is definitely a lot of potential here.
yeah. Like there's two versions of Dragapult that you see initially. There's Specs, which is just. I mean, it's not a bad set per se, but it's definitely not like what
There are
makes.
some matchups where Specs is good,
Yeah,
but people will very often just spam Specs
yeah.
when it is not a very good. Like it's not the correct way to use it.
I
I
do
think the real
think,
way to get good at using Dragapult is to just spam subsets and then
yeah,
eventually
basically,
everything.
if you don't have Will-O-Wisp on the set, it's not the correct set. That's my rule of thumb.
Will-O-Wisp or like sub disable.
Yeah, sub disables also nice. But yeah, anyway, like everything, even specs is better than just going raw Dragon Dance. That's like the worst thing you can do, in my
No,
opinion,
the,
at
the
least.
worst one is Scarf Dragapult. Like
Scarf.
Scarf Dragapult, there
I've
are
never seen
some
that.
very rare situations where you can run Scarf Dragapult, but there are so many people who will like, they'll be in a matchup with a Weavile and they'll be like, oh no, I'm so scared of Scarf Weavile, so I'm going to bring
Scarf
Scarf
Dragon.
Dragapult
Yeah,
first.
okay.
And then the Weavile just isn't Scarf.
Yeah,
So
okay, okay,
people get
okay.
like way too scared that their opponent will like bring a Scarfmon for the Dragapult, so then they like put a Scarf on the Dragapult, and then you're just like wasting your Dragapult.
Okay.
But anyway,
That would be a
next
user
game,
error.
yeah. Next game we have I see a Seismitoad on this team. I didn't end up watching this one live,
Neither
but
did I.
going, yeah, going to the end, it looks like a Trailblaze Ogerpon closed out the game. So it wasn't like a full sweep or anything, but
Hmm.
also I think this is Meganium signature, right? Yeah, it is.
I have zero idea.
Yeah, it's a Meganium signature. I don't think it ever came out. Yeah, it didn't ever come out, but Meganium is interesting. Like, it has pretty good stats. It's just held back by being a pure grass type. So
Yeah,
hopefully
definitely
that's good.
interesting idea to have the Meganium. But yeah, with that, we can move on to the next game. That is Sadie 90 versus the Jellicent Enjoyer. And I don't know much about any of these guys. I know that Sadie is playing a lot. Like she's in a lot of different leagues. Like just I know from I've been advertising in many different leagues through the PGP, and yeah, you definitely Sadie is a name that you see around quite a bit. I don't know anything else about her really. She did take the big
It's
loss
something
here.
really weird is not long after she joined the server, I was like watching YouTube. I forget what video it was, but it was like completely unrelated to Pokemon. And I was like I scrolled down to like the top 3 comments or whatever, and I saw her in the comments. Like I saw the profile picture. I'm like, wait, that's like vaguely familiar. And then I'm like, wait a minute.
Oh,
Did I just
nice.
find like a PWC member in the wild on like a popular YouTube video?
Nice. That's a small world, let me tell
So
you.
yeah,
Nice.
that was pretty funny. And then of course, the only thing I know about Jellicent Enjoyer is that he likes Jellicent. So
Yeah.
obviously that it means that he must be a good player.
That
So
is one thing, and the other thing is that he is like absolutely crushing this league so far. Like he won 5-0 versus Sadie week 1, and then he just today got a 6-0 over Evil Spooks, which is crazy, and which also means I can just point that out on the title screen. He's like at this point after week 2, the number 1 player of all the like 115 or how many ever many coaches we have at the moment. He is
mhm.
the absolute number 1 currently with 2-0 plus 11. No one else has like a record that's similarly good. So yeah, that's huge congratulations. Big start for the Jellicent Enjoyer. Let's see if we can keep that up. Then we have another matchup which I frankly don't know what to say about, which is Damu versus Sep Stolen. So
Yeah, so one of these players has an execute for their signature.
oh, that's
Not
crazy.
executor, which is a legal signature, but execute.
Nice.
Um, I don't think it did anything. Wait, okay, so I see that it clicked sleep powder. I am
Yeah,
not
which
sure if it landed the sleep powder. Let me check that turn in the replay. Okay, it missed the only sleep powder that it clicked, so that is unfortunate.
yeah.
Um, So yeah, I guess this means that execute is a good signature 75% of the time. So we can
it
expect
it
Amu to win 75% of his games.
yeah,
Um,
and this was not one of them. He did end up
yeah.
losing to a paralyzed Megalopony, which is quite unfortunate. But it looks like the
Mhm.
game was like Blicos, if you look like at the result screen, you have a Gust Lord, which is terrestrialized and only at 51% with rocks up, so it would have been really low. And then you have this paralyzed Megalopony, so
Well,
it's...
the Lopunny only got paralyzed in the final turn of the game when it killed Zapdos with Return, and then the static
Oh,
drop
oh, that's
for
how
the
it
game
happened.
ended.
All right. Yeah, but it's still like
But you
uh,
still paralyzed it. So if
arguable
you
that
had like if you had brought 9 mons to the game, then you probably could have brought this back.
I was gonna say if you had like a real mon for a signature, maybe it could have been reasonably close, but
Maybe if we can swap out the execute for an executor, then the team will get a lot better.
yeah,
But also execute is pretty stylish, so but only if you can make it work though. If
yeah.
you can't make the execute work, then you should definitely get executor because that is still a very cool signature, and nobody will shame you for using executor. So
But yeah, it is
yeah.
definitely a cool thing to use the execute in the first place, and yeah, hopefully he can have fun with it. Then we have the second Spaniard, also with a big win here, the Hierarchy, however you want to pronounce it, against a newcomer who did end up replacing in week 1. So I can say something about this. So first of all, Haruki, huge congrats. Another Spaniard representative doing well. You love to see it. And this game actually got played twice this week. The first time Haruki played against one of the NBA goons, which we have a lot of this season, which we are also probably going to mention a ton. And he did end up losing that match against the NBA guy, but the NBA guy was also like, I, I don't know how much I want to say about it, but let's just say it did end up with us asking him or me asking him to maybe just drop from the league because yeah, basically he was telling us that he didn't like the rules after he found out what the rules
Oh
were.
right, yeah, this was the Terra thing, right? Where he was like
Exactly,
really, oh yeah, because he was really upset that there was no Terra preview, and he
exactly.
put Terra preview on for the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, I do
Yeah,
remember
and
that.
he basically said like, yeah, that's something I really do not like. And then he told me, yeah, I was asking him, yeah, well, if you don't like it, do you wanna play or do you wanna drop? And then he told me, yeah, I'm not gonna drop, but I will drop if I lose a bunch of games. And then I was like, yeah, okay, I mean, what am I gonna do with that, right? Either you drop now or
Yeah.
you at least like go in with the intention of like going through with it. But like,
Yeah, because if you're gonna drop later, then we might as well replace you now so that the new person who comes in can like actually have, agency over their games. So
exactly. First, you can like be your own, like have your own best shot at playoffs instead of like waiting after like week 4 when he's like 1-3 or whatever, and he drops, and then it's
yeah, it's
really
like in season 10 when I took over like the 0-5 Wi-Fi team or whatever.
exactly. Or like Gil also took a like over a 0-4
Oh yeah, he took
team
over an
once
0-4 team and then won all 4 games and
and
made
made
playoffs with
playoffs.
it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's like something. If we can see it happen on week 1 because you actually announced that you're gonna do it, then it's better to just
Yeah, and
call it quits right
it's
now.
basically week 0 because the game got played again. So you're basically
Exactly.
taking over as 0-0 team.
Yeah.
So
And the new guy, Munch J, we also don't know much about, but he did have an unfortunate week 1 there, but hopefully he can bounce back from it. Then we do the next game, which is between J Work and Major Comeback. I have zero to say about this game. I don't know anything.
yeah, I skip to end. I see a King
King
Goobit, so
Gambit.
I'm
Oh,
going
that's what
to
that's.
assume that. Oh, but it's actually Defiant King Goobit and not
Ooh.
Supreme Overlord. And it had Stealth Rock, so I guess this wasn't a complete King Goobit sweep. Also, I do see that it had Kowtow Cleave instead of Knockoff. I'm not
Ooh,
sure
interesting.
what the reasoning for that decision was. Maybe they were planning on using Knockoff on Great Tusk, but I didn't. The only move that it clicked that game was Supercell Slam, so I'm not sure if this team is overcooked, but they did win the game, so
I mean, there is a
they
Gyarados on the other team, so that probably explains the Supercell Slam, but
yeah, although it is Mega Gyarados, so.
Yeah,
You know?
still, but it's still like it's gonna be the Gyarados initially, and like
Mhm.
Gyarados as the base form obviously resists the dual step for Great Tusk, so it makes sense to, and it's also like
Also, the opponent didn't
prediction
bring a ground
proof
type,
if you
so maybe their ground type is not very good.
yeah, and
I
also
don't know
like
what the
Super Cell Slam is at least prediction proof against the Gyarados. If you ever end up facing off with it, you don't have to predict whether it's gonna mega or not. You
yeah, of
can just
course.
click the move and miss it and lose 50% of your health. So yeah, there's that. That's a good win for the major comeback. Hopefully he will come back for week 2 as well. And finally, we have the last Spaniard. So the Spaniards going 3 out of 3 here, week 1, with Tommy also taking a big win over AOM Alexander.
I do see an iron bundle in this game, so I guess this is part of the expected 80% of games that they are winning this season. So they will have to take that Hydro Miss loss at some point, but not today.
Yeah, he didn't have
So
to click Hydro Pump. Looking at it,
they,
he only
but
clicked
he
Ice Beam
lost
3
week two,
times.
so I guess the week 2 is the Hydro Pump loss.
Oh, he did.
So
Did
I,
he?
I
I
have I have
didn't.
no idea I have no idea what the week 2 loss was actually because of, but it could have been Hydro Pump. Who knows?
Oh, he did lose
Wait,
5-0 against Seb Stolen. That's oh wow, Seb Stolen with a good start here. I didn't even see that. I know that they played today, but that's a surprise because
wait,
Tommy.
okay, no joke. I just went to the replay, and the Iron Bundle missed all 3 Hydro Pumps that it took. So that is
No
the
way.
Hydro Pump. No joke.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that's basically what you expect to happen there. Oh damn, he clicked a whole bunch of moves with that Iron Bundle and he still lost.
Yeah,
He
and he
clicked like
missed
8
every
moves
single
with
Hydro
it.
Pump. Yeah.
That's crazy. All right.
Yeah, so but that's like the what you should be expecting if you draft Iron Bundle. So yeah, hopefully that does not happen more than 2 games this season.
Yeah.
Um,
So you expect Tommy to do well because Tommy is actually like the guys that the Spaniards, as we call them, the Spaniard squad, they all came from the same league, which is a Spanish league, obviously. And so I talked to Lily about it preseason, and she told me that Tommy was actually the one who won that league. Um,
mhm.
so yeah, we expect Tommy to bounce back and hopefully hit some hydro pumps next time and maybe be a good contender for the win here. It's going to be
Mhm.
interesting. And yeah, Hippimochi also very strong Spaniard in my opinion. But yeah, with that, we should probably move on from the Gracidea Division.
Yeah, I have Azure pulled up right
Azure,
now.
exactly. So that's our top pile. New coaches as well. We don't know much about many of them as well, but they did have like generally good applications, good replays. We do
Yeah, we
think
have 3 NBA goons. Wait, no, is it 4 NBA goons?
it is. So Lisipsi is one. Then we have
Yeah,
Royce
Leezy is 1, Royce Snover is 1, Stormtide is 1, and then
and
I know that
Eager.
Eager
Eager is
99
one.
is in NBA, but I'm not sure if he like came from NBA or not.
He did come from NBA. And
Okay.
MT105 is also. So there's five
Oh, so we have 5 of them.
5 goons. Yeah, that's insane. And
Mhm.
the really funny thing is, uh, so I respect the NBA. Obviously, they were a tough opponent in the PGP, and I hope they will be doing well and they are cool and everything. But let's just go through the results here. So we have Stormtide, the first goon, which with a 3-0 loss. Then we have the second goon who took a 5-0 loss. The third goon did quite well, took a 2-0 loss. Then we have the fourth goon taking a 4-0 loss, and then we have Lizipsi rounding it out with another 4-0 loss. So that means the goons are 0 for 5 in the first week, which is unfortunate, but obviously getting used to the new environment.
Oh, and I
Obviously.
just realized that my friend Night Dazer, he has to play 2 goons in a row, so he
Oh,
hasn't played his 2 match yet. I'm not sure if he's built for it yet or not, but
yeah.
yeah, he did pretty well in his week 1, so that's good to see. He's someone who started playing draft like not long after I started playing draft, and we would play in multiple leagues together, and we started a monotype league together, which Ronan Sting ended up joining, and then that's how I ended up being invited to PWC in the first
Hmm.
place. But
Yeah.
then he took a break from draft for like I think like a year and a half or so. Um, and now he just hit me up fairly recently, like, hey, I want to get back into Draft League, so I invited him here, and oh, I wasn't sure how rusty he would be, but he got a 4-0 win for his first game, so
Yeah, that's
that's a
definitely
good sign.
one of the names you have to keep an eye on for the Azure Division, which like I'm super excited for this one because in my view there are some potential dark horses who could even make it all the way to Division 1 in the future. So Night Dazer, obviously I don't know much about him, but Camel is vouching for him. He might be one with potential. Then we have It's Hydra. So It's Hydra, where is he? That's down here. So he
Mhm.
won against Lisipsi, who, by the way, was on the PGP roster for the NBA, so definitely no slouch
Mhm.
there. But It's Hydra took a good win week 1, and It's Hydra was like one of the two most impressive applications we have received out of the like 160 or whatever we got. We
Yeah,
were
he's one of the
very
two contenders for getting into Div 2.
exactly.
Another thing I will say is that he drafted Mega Venusaur, and Mega Venusaur has had a very good track record in PWC, um, partially because of me padding its stats a bit, but it's definitely a
Yeah.
very strong mon.
Yeah,
So,
it is has been doing well in the PWC. Like we did the stats like with camel versus without camel, and it's definitely a significant difference. But it is definitely a good one. But yeah, for so it's
Mhm.
Hydra. He came into the league like we almost put him into Div 2 directly, but we had one application which we found to be even more impressive. And then he ended up here, but he is so far definitely justifying the hype with the 4-0
Mhm.
win week 1 and then a 5-0 win week 2, which means that he is, yeah, out of the 115 coaches currently number 2. So that's a huge dark horse. I can't wait to see how he will do in the long run in the PWC.
Yeah, and then
And
Vios also seems pretty
exactly,
strong.
yes,
Yeah.
Vios is like the big one just because Vios was one of those guys where we didn't really know much, and also the replays didn't really tell us that much. He basically
Hmm.
got in, from my view, because he was active on the server even before the application period, where he would just randomly post emojis out of context. Like I was, who's
Oh yeah,
this
didn't
guy?
he come into DPL? I
Uh,
think so, right?
what did he?
I I think he may have. I remember him like joining because there was like some conversation in the DPL server, and then
Ooh,
we were
is
talking
that
about
so?
PWC, and he joined here.
Oh, that's
I could be wrong
possible.
on that,
That
but
is
I'm pretty
possible.
sure that's why he was in
Anyway,
here.
yeah, that's possible. Anyway, like we didn't really think much of him. He was like one of the guys where his replay seemed decent. I think we rated it like a 6 out of 10, but it seemed too strong for maybe like the newcomers. And then we just put him there like sink or swim type of thing. Let's see how he does. And so far, he seems to be like the dark horse. Not only did he get a 5-0 win week 1, which is obviously a really strong win. But then he got a really big win over Rick on week 2. And Rick himself is also one of the guys you have to keep an eye on because he's a very, very experienced coach who has like 5 draft league championships to his name already. So yeah, definitely Vios is like the big dark horse here. Love to see it.
Hmm.
So yeah, then who else do we want to talk about? Obviously,
And
we
then
have to talk about
for the
Lilia.
Spaniard squad,
Yeah.
yeah, Lilia lost to Rick, but then won her week 2, and then Abby won her week 1, but then lost her week 2. So I guess they were just trading wins and losses
Hmm.
between the 2 weeks.
Yeah, definitely. So Pebby week 1, I remember because uh, so Pebby asked me if I could give some input on the prep on week 1. So definitely talked about that game with him or her before, which was actually, in my opinion, a really rough matchup overall against Benja Boy, just team wise. But the Mega Galade was really good, and we came up with a good set there, which ended up also winning the game for Pebby. I think he got like 4 kills. So yeah, that was nice to see. Very good start. And then I didn't watch the week 2 match yet. Um,
Hmm.
so I can't really talk about what happened
Yeah,
there.
I watched Lilia's week 2, but I don't think I've seen Tabby's week 2 yet. For Lilia's, there is the infamous tricked choice scarf Auroras. Like the Togekiss tricked a scarf onto it and stole its light clay. But the Aurora still ended up putting in work, so
Nice. Yeah, very interesting set. T-Wave, Roar, Aurora Wave, Blizzard. Yeah,
Mhm.
interesting. So yeah, definitely a good win for Lilia there. So hopefully the Spaniards are all tied up here in the top
Mhm.
top pile division. Let's see
Yeah,
which way they
so
go.
like overall the Spaniards are quite positive as far as wins. Unfortunately the same cannot be said for the NBA
Yeah,
boost.
I was gonna say I was just gonna go down to week 2 to see how they did there, but yeah, so far Stormtide took another loss.
I
Royce
mean
Snover,
MP105 got a win at
yeah, so
least, so
that's the first win they are. So that means they are 1-7 right now, which is
wait,
not
is this the first win they've gotten like
yeah.
at all?
No. Um,
Or did like I forget
the
who. Oh
top
yeah,
the
Naheima
top
got a
diff
win in week 1 for Sacred, and then Azzy beat
Asi
the
also.
yeah.
Yeah. But Asi just lost today to Leonard. Not only
Yeah, I
lost, but
saw that. Terapagos. Yeah, Terapagos may just be
got
the best Pokemon of all time.
yeah.
Um, but that is
So yeah, that happened. But yeah, overall, and also I know that Jortsen, the other NBA roster guy from the PGP, he won his week 1 in Division 2. So
yeah.
they aren't doing terrible overall. They are just here in the pile divisions. They are not doing too well.
Mhm.
All right. Yeah. So, any other games we want to talk about? Bencher Boy, hopefully, we don't know much about him, but he is from Holland, which is like a major like uphill battle to fight. If you're from
Mhm.
Holland, like that's basically
It's true.
like a huge debuff. So he's doing well, all things considered. And also, obviously, playing as a Dutch guy against a Spaniard, that must bring like back so many painful memories from the 2010 World Cup Finals, where
Oh
if
no.
you didn't know, obviously the Dutch lost, which is like kind of what they do. So, I mean, they still have like a good Formula One driver in Max Verstappen, so shouldn't be too sad. And we also had the DQ win
Oh
that
right, yeah, the
Lil
DQ
Strike.
because wait, what was it? Oh right, yeah.
I don't.
Let me try to find the. Yeah, so it was he used hidden power on his
Ooh,
Manectric.
yeah.
So it was really funny. So people were joking. So it was wait. So what was it? Let me go to turn. It was 12, I think. Uh, wait, can I not go to turn? Oh, there it is. Okay, so yeah, we have water type trust, the mega pincer. Funny thing about that, so I made this like random change to Wiglet like fairly recently. I forget what weird bug I was fixing. Um, but I forgot to do this one thing, so the parentheses in the nickname ended up breaking it, so I had to fix that. Um, but yeah, so Mega Pincer used return, and I think it was Attila joking like, "Oh, return is banned. That you're DQ'd." And then literally the next turn, the Manectric comes in and clicks Hidden Power, which is the actually
And
banned
then
move. And I
until
don't think that anybody said anything about it.
no. Actually, it is. It's so funny reading
Oh,
through the chat right now.
but then he said, but Hidden Power is really banned, so what's it being
Yeah,
used for?
that's super funny.
And then he says, "Is that wait, return is banned?" And then he's like, "No, return is not banned, but hidden power is."
Exactly. So the chat goes, you guys can see it on the screen. Return is banned, so it's automatically a DQ finish. And then he says, nah, just kidding. Attila says. And then Swagger 2 uses hidden power, and then Attila goes, hey, yo,
That,
but
that,
Red is
that,
really
that, that was
banned.
insane timing, though. Like,
Yeah, that's crazy timing. So that's a GG. So yeah, Attila was right there. That was actually a GG. Swagger 2 did end up winning the match. But obviously that is still a DQ, so Lil Strike gets the win there. And yeah, for Lil
Mhm.
Strike, Lil Strike is Starvin's pet in this division. So Starvin helped us
Yeah.
rank the new coaches in the application doc, and he was like the guy who said, "Oh, Lil Strike, he's crazy. He has to be in the top pile." And I was like, "Yeah, of course," because Starvin likes to complain if you don't do everything he says. So I was like, "Okay,
Yeah, and
you
Starvin
can
also
have this
likes
one."
to like pick one person in each division and like
Yeah,
try to backseat them, I think. Like I
exactly.
think Bummer was his Division 2 guy.
And Backpack
Um
Boy is his Division 4 guy.
yeah.
So yeah, Lil
Although
Strike is
I think I
his.
bet on Backpack Boy again because he did pretty well in
Yeah,
last season.
he is. I mean, you guys can't know, but obviously it was clear from day one that we're going to talk about that like after this. But Silver is going to win the Berserk Division. It was clear from day one, but yeah, we'll talk about that later. So yeah, Lil Strike is the starving guy. Who else? Rick, we talked about it, really experienced, doing well so far, even though he lost week 2. Eager99, completely insane person who likes to troll. Is also a goon from NBA. Then we have Dreidweg with the win week 1. He's a Hungarian,
Yeah,
so he's
he's
also
pretty
crazy.
active. He was in like VC quite a few
Hmm.
times, like
Hmm.
around when the draft was happening. There was one fun one. It was like pretty late for me when I was in the States for the holidays, but it was Gil, him and I in VC, and we were playing GeoGuessr. So
Ooh, GeoGuessr is
Gil had
nice.
Gil had GeoGuessr up, and it was really funny because it kept giving us Brazil, and
And Gil was
and
like, "Oh, that's my neighborhood."
all three of us were good enough at GeoGuessr to like be able to instantly recognize that it was Brazil. But obviously Gil living in Brazil, like we had to refer to him to like know where in Brazil it
Yeah,
was because Brazil is such a big country. So
yeah,
obviously like somebody who doesn't live there, it's gonna be really hard to know like where in Brazil it is. So he was
yeah.
like looking at stuff like there were signs for different politicians, and he was like which area would like support this
Yeah,
politician.
Gil is my first suspicion always was Gil is actually not real. He is like an LLM himself because he knows everything. Like he knows the most random stuff about everything. It's crazy. So yeah, and he's also good at chess as you would expect from an AI. So yeah, I think that the evidence is quite clear that Gil might not be actually human, but there you go with that. Yeah, so yeah, that's it for the top pile, I think. Definitely
All
cool
right, should we
division.
move on to Berserk?
We will move on to Berserk. That sounds very reasonable. And we see that Berserk is actually quite active. They only need one more game for week 2. So let's go through it really quickly and let's not spend too much time on Attila because, like, for no reason, Attila has been going completely insane with his nicknames. I
Yeah,
don't even wanna.
that was
That was
I don't
like
know.
that.
Has he done that in previous seasons? I don't
No,
remember.
I know he does not. He hasn't. Like for some reason, he went completely off the rails with his nicknames. But he did play his week 3 today, and I was so relieved to see that his nicknames were like actually reasonable. He named his mons after like female singers, so that was very
Okay, yeah,
refreshing to
that's
see.
better than what the previous options were.
Yeah.
I think he's just on his people arc right now, but he took it a little bit too far.
Yeah, exactly. But he did have some good games. Like his week 1 against Timmy was a really hype game. It came down to the absolute wire. Like Timmy had an early lead, and then Attila almost brought it back. It was like really close in the end, but he did lose that. And yeah, Timmy came into Division 4 with many people saying like, why are you putting Timmy in Division 4? Apparently he's been doing quite well in some other leagues. I did not know that. I only know that he replaced in Division 4 in the past, and he did end up losing every single match last time he played in Div 4. So yeah,
Mhm,
from our perspective, it was quite clear where to put him, but he might. So he did end up narrowly winning both his week 1 and his week 2. So he's
mhm.
definitely a strong contender at the moment.
Yeah, maybe this is his training arc.
Yeah, he might be rising all the way through the ranks, which would be cool to see. Then we
Mhm,
got the second game, which has Backpack Boy versus the Talon Anderson. Backpack Boy obviously being Starvin's pet, Starvin's guy in this division. And like you said,
Mm-hmm.
did do well in the offseason. And playing against the Talon Anderson, who's becoming like a little bit of a staple of the PWC. He's been around for a couple seasons now, always in the lower divisions. I think he's like a teacher, and he's also got
Yeah, I think so.
like kids to worry about. So that makes sense. That
Of
probably
course, the real staple of the PWC is a time vault, but
that is super true. We're gonna come to Time Vault, and I think also Time Vault. He might also be a teacher himself. Let's just skip to Time Vault right now. So Time Vault is one of my favorite players because he's not. You don't notice him as much because he isn't that active in terms of chatting, but he's been around ever since season 4, and he played almost every season since then. Obviously, he's been in the bottom division the entire time, and he has some unfortunate tendencies. Like his thing used to be, he would draft Ferrothorn all the time, and he would just lead off with it against the fire type, and then he would just stay in with it every single time and lose it turn 1 to a fire move. So that has been a learning curve for him. But yeah, I don't.
has he ever run Akaberry Ferrothorn?
No, he is not.
Because
Ferrothorn.
that might be worth investing in. Because if he always leads his Ferrothorn into fire move, then you might as well let it like maybe get some rocks up before it dies on turn 2 instead of just dying instantly on a 1.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea for the future. But I only remember that I think his Ferrothorn was the first one that ever played like a perfectly bad season, where it came to all 8 games in the season and it went 0-8, died every single time and didn't get a single kill. So yeah, that's one of the accolades of Time Vault in this league. But yeah, so he's just a really nice guy, really good sport. One of my favorite players for sure.
I have a lot of respect for players who they usually don't perform well, but they play all of their games on time and they never get mad at their opponents or like quit the season early or anything.
Exactly.
Because it can be really easy to say like, oh, like why did people like drop so much when you're somebody who wins a lot, but it's like pretty difficult to go through a season when you keep losing and a lot of people will just crash out.
Exactly.
So being able to not do that is great.
90% of people who have a really bad season, 90% is probably too much, but a lot of people who have a bad season will end up dropping, and Time Vault just doesn't do that. So that's one of the reasons why I think he's a really good guy, and like I said, he's also really nice, and he has its moments where he has been performing well. I think he almost made playoffs one time. We almost got an even record. So yeah, he has his moments, and I'm just always rooting for him to do well. But yeah, so far this season didn't get off to a great start for him. He's 0-2 right now, but he may bounce back. I would definitely love to see it. And yeah, so as we are talking about that game anyway, we got Golden Mazda, Mazda, whatever, however you pronounce it, who might end up being if you crown a newcomer of the season for every season, I think he might be the contender right now. It's between him and Lilia at the moment. He is so active. He's just amazing as a member, and he also knows all the stories already after only a short time. And
I mean, maybe he can be one of the future PWC lore historians.
Yeah, definitely looks like he might be, and he's been doing quite well. He won his week 1 against Time Vault, and then he had a really, really close game in week 2 against Fox Hunter, which came down to the wire and got decided by Fox Hunter playing his Dragapult really, really well there. So the Dragapult ended up winning it for him, but it was very close. So yeah,
I mean, there's no shame in losing to Dragapult. So
yeah, especially if you keep it as close as he did. So yeah, Golden Master, and also he's one of the Southeast Asian gang guys. He's from Singapore, so that's also cool to see. All right, what else do we have? Backpack Boy, we talked about it. Oh, the OG match.
Oh yeah, Silver, yeah.
Silver versus Anu. So this is so funny. You know, the first time this match has happened,
When
season 2. This
season
was
2, that's crazy.
season 2. This is insanely OG, these guys. So I did the
Mhm.
stats for all the seasons all the way back to season 2, and I can only tell you that these guys both have been around and playing in season 2. So I could pull up the stats if I didn't have to like write out a whole SQL statement to do it, to see how this ended in season 2. Actually, that would be really fun to do. um, I will. I think I will do that, but I will. We will need to come back to this match later. So why don't you talk about the next match as I pull up the silver versus?
Yeah,
Um,
I don't remember if actually, yeah, I think I may have watched this one. Just gonna like kind of skip through it. Yeah, so this was like a weather war game. There's a Polytoad versus a Lolatail, so there weren't really any like, straight up weather abusers on either side. Funnily enough, you do have a Articuno, which could have been abusing the snow, but I think it only ended up clicking Terrablast ground this game. Uh, but yeah, Kartana. Yeah, so it was like Mega Venusaur, getting a kill early on the Hisuian Arcanine with Earth Power. So then kind of just Politoed, Heatran, and Kartana closing out the game. So yeah, and then we talked about Time Vault. Jax versus Sceptor Bird. We know it's right. It's hard to see. He specified that it's a Skeptor Bird, which is funny because his signature mon being Sceptile, which has a soft C in it. But I guess we can call it Skeptile for the sake of the argument. Um, yeah, I don't. Yeah, so I don't remember. Oh yeah, we saw a toxic leftover Suicune. Yeah, that's awesome. And Hurricane Iron Jugulus. So this seems to be a Coco Quark Drive team, and then Sceptile getting the clean in the late game. So signature Sceptile seems pretty strong. Although we do have a Shed Tail band, so it's not at its full potential. Although Shed Tail Sceptile is usually kind of bad anyway, so who cares?
yeah. All right. I
And
do have the match here, but I did lie. It was not in week in season 2. It was in season 3, but they still were both in season 2, but they didn't play against each other. But they did play in season 3 instead, and it looks like Silver ended up winning that match, which is unfortunately we have the Mons here. I would have to write an even more complicated statement to get the Mon names here, but one of Silver's Mons got 4 kills, which is like
do we
Dex.
know the differential?
I would have to go from added from yeah, it was 5-0. 5-0 for
We oh
Silver.
so and it was 5-0 we for this one as well. So both games Silver won 5-0.
Nice. All right. Yeah,
So
that's cool. A cool story there. So yeah, these guys have a rich history in the league, and yeah, that means that I think Silver might be. I was hinting at that earlier. He might be the favorite for this division, just because he's been doing really well in the past, and it's just that he's been out of the game for 3 whole years, so he doesn't really know anything about the new mons. But if he can shake off the rust, I think like he would be actually at home in like Division 2, I think, more so than Division 4. So
yeah,
yeah,
I
that's
think
gonna
I
be
ended up betting on Backpack Boy, but he would probably be my second choice to bet on if I had to choose a second.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I guess for the last two games we have Fox versus Wolfpack. I don't completely remember this game. Oh yeah, there was the zebra, right?
Oh, right, right,
Oh yeah,
right.
and
Yeah.
Gargoyle. There's
The
Terra flying zebra.
Zebra is an interesting signature. Obviously, it's just functioning as most of the fast electric type signatures, and it can be both physical and special. So that's what it has going for it. And obviously it got the Supercell Slam, as so many mons did, as a decent physical stab attack, which makes it a lot better now. So yeah,
Yeah,
interesting
and then
signature there.
for the final game, we have Blind Fangs taking a very close 1-0 win, despite him unfortunately being forced to use Weirdier by
Oh,
Starvin because he lost in the random battle bet, so he had to use Weirdier. Although it seems that he's named all of his mons after Elden Ring characters, so that's pretty cool. I think I've done that name theme before for a monotype league. I think it was actually it was a monotype VGC league. It was the last season of the monotype league that I was talking about earlier that we ended up running. But yeah, I have mono flying, and I think I ended up winning that season. But
yeah. But
yeah,
yeah, I
that's
mean, Blind Fangs definitely did get a good win there, even though it was quite close. And then, yeah, we can see today he unfortunately for Time Vault got a huge win over Time Vault. So yeah, Blind Fangs with a good start. His brother Fox with a good start. Those were our two preseason top seeds. I think they were seed 1 and 2. And then obviously the later, who will turn out to be the winner, Silver, was like seed 3, I think. So yeah, interesting Berserk Division this season. We have multiple people who can be considered contenders, so that's gonna be interesting to follow as we go along. So yeah, with that, quickly let's move on to the whatever division.
Griseous or Griseous.
Like
However, I'm not sure what the official pronunciation. Like a lot of people say Griseous, but Griseous would also make sense. Um,
it's just impossible
yeah,
to pronounce. Like I don't know
yeah.
who came up with this idea, but it's a terrible one. So let's not talk about it for much longer. Yeah, except for saying that this division is possibly, in my opinion, the most evenly matched division, or one of the most evenly matched at least.
Yeah, I would
Um,
agree with that.
yeah, it's just super exciting, and we have so many
Yeah,
cool
one I
players.
don't even remember who I bet on to win. Um,
I
I know that I
do.
bet on somebody, but
I mean,
wait, oh no, I bet on Dead Pants. That's what it was because obviously Dead
obviously you'll
Pants
have
beat
to.
me in the off season, so I have to bet on him winning.
Exactly. So yeah, Deadpans, for those who don't know, won the off season, like Camel just told us, which was a battle spot singles tournament, and he did so after losing to Camel in the pools phase of the
Yeah,
competition.
so the first set that he played was versus me. He lost to me, and then he's like, "All right, I'm gonna lock in." He figured out
Yeah,
the format, and then he didn't drop a set after that.
that was
So
so it was so crazy. It was one of the greatest things we ever saw, I think, just because like he literally said after losing to Camel, and he didn't like lose, he got absolutely, or I don't know if that's true, but in
yeah, well,
my memory he got completely swept, at least, or not
yeah,
swept,
yeah.
slapped.
I was kind of destroying everybody up until I
Yeah, lost.
lost to him in
Yeah.
finals.
So anyway, he after losing in pools to Camel, he literally told everyone, guys, I'm gonna lock in now, and he kept saying, I'm gonna get the steel chair like in one of those wrestling shows, and come back into the ring and slap Camel with the
Yeah,
steel
and
chair.
beat Camel in finals. Yeah,
And it was
and then
so
it
insane.
actually happened.
It actually happens, and not only that, but
Yeah.
he also took out like at least 2 top division coaches on his way to finals, and yeah, just one of the great moments. And then like I couldn't believe it when Camel told me, "Yo," because I had already given Camel the like for the coach reveals the
Oh, right.
star for
Yeah.
the off-season win, because I was like, yeah, okay, that's fine, I can give it to him. And then he texted me and told me like, dude, I just lost, and I was like, what? What do you mean you just lost? So I had to change.
There was just too much plot armor. I could like
I
there
had to
was no way I was winning that.
I had to change the yeah the thing for the for the coach reveals, but yeah, obviously for an event like this, I will gladly do it, and yeah, that was just a crazy story.
Unfortunately, He's unfortunately taken 2 losses, but I'm sure that he can bounce back.
Oh yeah, for
Although
sure.
maybe we'll have to make the next season battle spot singles so he can take the win.
Exactly. Like it's all fun and games until he pulls out the steel chair. So let's not count him out just yet, just because he lost the first 2 matches, which can happen. And yeah, so let's just go from the top here. We have Gracidea versus It's VHax. Gracidea is like, it's weird. He's been around for a while now. I think this is his first season, but I can't really say much. He just kind of spawned in the Smurf division back in season
Yeah,
10.
he just appeared, and then I think he's done like decently,
Yeah,
like every season.
but he never really like had that signature playoff run yet. So he kind of does well in regular season, but he didn't go far in any playoffs yet. But maybe he can change it this season. It's VHax got the win over Gracidea in week 1. So It's VHax is from the DPL, and I think there he was in Division 1 there, maybe? I don't remember.
I don't remember. Let me check the DPL spreadsheet.
Either way, I remember him doing decently well in the DPL, but like not crazy, didn't like win or anything. But yeah, so he's
I was
one of
looking
those
for a
guys.
roster status of teams. So yeah, I think he was lower division in DPL.
Oh, okay,
I
okay,
don't see
okay.
it on the top division. I mean, top division for DPL is basically just like PWC Div 1 plus Div 2.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
like basically every player here is from one of those.
mm-hmm. So yeah, but either way, he did do like decently well also, like Gracidea every season he's been here. So yeah, that's like the name of the game for many of these guys. Then we got the next game between Jace Husky and Thunder Tinker, who is our reigning Division 4 champion. So he moved up to Division 3 and he got the win in week 1. Just straight out the gates, starting hot here.
Yeah,
We love to
1-0
see it.
win. Looking at it, we have a walking wake closing out the game. And a signature Houndoom, which is pretty
What?
interesting.
Oh, that's crazy. Signature
Yeah.
Houndoom.
Yeah, it was Terra Flying Houndoom.
Oh, crazy. I did not know that he picked.
Against a Terra Dragon Claydol.
Interesting signatures. That's nice.
Which was a trick choice, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Although I'm going to guess that it tricked into Golden Go because I do not see that anything actually got tricked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely interesting.
Yeah, it also doesn't have a tricked item itself, just from, so yeah, definitely the trick must have failed. So interesting. So yeah, that's a good win for Thunder Tinker week 1 against Jace, who himself, like, he joined last season. He made finals in his debut and lost the finals, but he became known for getting like double-digit kills with Miltank, which not with
Oh
non
right, yeah, he was the one with Miltank.
the
And it
Miltank
wasn't
guy.
even signature Miltank because Miltank
Exactly,
is like too expensive to be a signature.
exactly.
It's
So
just Miltank was like the unofficial signature of the team.
yeah, and he
So
got like a ton of kills with it, which is great to see. Then we got the dinosaur himself, which stands for Dinosaur TN98. Would
and
be
nobody
who's
knows what the T and N stand for, but the D is definitely for dinosaur.
exactly, yeah, the dinosaur Tyrannosaurus.
Yeah, and the 98, as you would expect, is his birth year, but it's actually
Yeah, it's
stands for 98
98.
million BC. So
I was gonna say that, yeah.
I'm not sure what era that is, but it is definitely one of them.
It is the I don't know. It is definitely before the Drake meteor hit, and
Yeah, I'm not a dinosaur nerd, so somebody else can probably
exactly.
tell
If
me in the comments.
exactly, if you know a lot about dinosaurs, let us know. what time that was and who he probably had his debut against. But he did end up.
And while you're at it, make sure to click the like and subscribe button.
Nice. We got that in there as well. Checking all the boxes right now. So yeah,
Mhm.
despite all the experience, he did end up losing against Asylum GS83.
Against a Zerkatry, in the grassy terrain, straight up zerking it, and by it, well, let's just I'm not going to.
let's not go there. But yeah, that's a good win for the Asylum GS83, who is one of the coaches who is like, for me, we have so many players now. Like it's hard to have an opinion on everyone, and he's like one of those guys that goes completely under the radar for me, at least. I know he joined
Mhm.
in season. No, was he in season 3 last season? I don't even know. I couldn't tell you. But he has a good win here on week 1, which is great to see. And hopefully, next time I will know more about Asylum.
Mhm.
Then we have Riptide versus Jactus. Big win versus Riptide, who is, by the way, the guy who I bet on winning the season. Just
Mhm.
because he's been doing very well in Division 2 even when he was
Yeah,
there.
and
And
Gracious is a PWC staple for sure. So
yeah, and
at least
Jactus is like one of the absolute OGs who has like he's been around since season 5. He won his debut this season in his debut, and then he moved up to Division 2, where he did not do well at all. So he moved back down to Division 3, and he has been there ever since. And it's so funny.
Mhm.
He he plays a good regular season every single time, and I think it's been 4 seasons in a row now where he dropped out playoffs round 1, aka quarterfinals, because he always does well in regular season, and then he loses round 1 playoffs 4 times in a row now. So hopefully this season he can make a deeper run into playoffs. Would be great to see. And yeah, let's just with that move on to the next player who has moved down from Division 2 after Riptide, which is Mimico, who took a loss here to Ty the Guy, who is an NBA, not NBA,
Yeah, well,
ETA
no,
coach.
ETA. He's trying to break the ETA curse.
Exactly.
Maybe
Which,
somebody will do. I mean, we have Mike Haley in the next
yeah,
match as well, so maybe
yeah.
one of them will do it. Actually, do they end up playing each other at all?
Let's check.
Yeah, let's see.
Riptide, Jace, Barney, Bummer. No, it doesn't appear like
Yeah,
they
it
do.
doesn't look like they do. Well, I guess they'll have to meet in finals.
Yeah, that would be a crazy finals. But yeah,
Yeah.
so Ty the Guy won, though Mike ended up losing against SMO, which is which is not a bad loss. Like SMO is one of those coaches who I personally hold in high regard, even though he
Yeah, he's
is.
definitely one of the stronger players in this division.
Yeah, but the thing about him is his results are so damn shaky. Like
I know, yeah.
he will have seasons where he just straight up like he has won, like he made finals at least twice before, and he also won one season, and he also won an off season, and he will just have these really great runs, and he has the results due to it. But he also has seasons where it just goes 1-7. So yeah, very shaky, but definitely strong in his
Isn't
day.
Bonnie kind of like that as well?
Barney is exactly the same. Barney also, yeah, basically a mirror to SMO in my view. Um,
Hmm.
he was searching through the divisions, ended up in Division 2, and then he even had a good run in his first season in Division 2, where he, I think, got like second seed or something. And then last season, he just straight up went 0-8. So, yeah, that's how
Yeah,
it
that
goes
was
sometimes.
unfortunate.
Yeah. That also means that Bummer, who designed our PWC logo, one of the great logos we ever had. So thank you for that, Bummer. And on top of that, he also got the win here in week 1. I know he's very motivated to do well. He told me that preseason. He wants to have his breakout performance this season. And I'm definitely rooting for him to make it happen because even though
Yeah,
he's
I definitely think he has the potential purely because it takes a lot of mental fortitude to draw Weirder. It is not healthy to have to look at Weirder for that long. I remember when I was playing Gardic Fode in VC. Starvin was one of the players, so we had to draw a lot of weirdiers in that session, and that was definitely very difficult. And those weirdiers were not nearly as high quality as the one on our logo. So I think that alone shows that he has the potential to do well this season.
Yeah, and definitely means that he deserves to do it, despite regardless of if he has the potential or not. We definitely
Yeah.
know he does have the potential, but he deserves it as well. And yeah, unfortunately, that means that Barney, who is one of my favorite players, needs to take a narrow loss here, but I'm sure he will bounce back from that. All right. Yeah, with that, let's just wrap up the Griseous Division really quickly. Yeah, definitely something, like we said in the beginning, very hard to make out a favorite in this one. And with that, moving on to the Division 2 now, where, so I don't know if this is unfair to say, but for me, one of the surprises so far this season has been Zeroga. So Zeroga is 2-0 right now, and not only that, but
So yeah, beating Moonlight was like I wouldn't say it's like quite an upset because like they've both
Mhm,
like been in Division 1
mhm,
before and had like the middling runs in Division
mhm,
1. Like Sorogo went 4-4 with the Turtle team,
mhm.
and I think did Moonlight go 4-4 as well, or
I
was it
think he
like
did.
3-5?
It was he. I think he
We
might
had a
have
lot of
missed.
4-4 people, I think.
Yeah, he might have
I know
missed
that
playoffs
Drip
because.
missed by exactly one division. Oh, sorry, one differential because of Starvin. Like he was exactly one differential below Starvin, but then I think Moonlight might have been like 7 below or something. I don't
Exactly,
remember exactly.
he had a bad differential. That's what I remember, and I think he was even record, but he was yeah, just missing playoffs due to the differential. And yeah, so that's a
However,
really good win.
Zeroga beating Gallardia was
Yeah,
very surprising for me.
that's
Um,
exactly what I
I
was gonna say.
I watched this game earlier today, I think, and yeah, that was I mean, this Tara Hariyama has been putting in a lot of work. Also, funny thing with the game versus Moonlight. So Moonlight has a Farigiraf signature,
Hmm.
and he brought Key Berry with Cud Chew. So the idea is that Key Berry will give you +1 defense when you are hit by a physical move, and then Cud Chew will re-trigger the berry on the following turn, so you get +2 defense. And this for Richaraf was agility. I am assuming it was also Calm Mind, and then probably like it was Terra Fighting, so probably something like Terra Blast Stored Power, or maybe it like wasn't Calm Mind. It could have been like, well, it had to have been Calm Mind though. I think Terra Fighting, Terra Blast Stored Power is kind of weird into Glow King, but it was definitely some sort of like setup thing where the idea was to get the +2 defense from the Keyberry. However, the physical attack that hit it was Thunder Punch from Hariyama, which did not trigger the Keyberry. So everybody in chat was very confused as to why it did not trigger, and the reason is because it was Sheer Force Hariyama,
Oh,
which, as you might know from the eject button interaction, if a Sheer Force mon hits your eject button mon, it does not trigger the eject button because how Sheer Force works is it basically just like exits the like script early for the move is like the best way to describe it. So anything that would happen after the do damage part just doesn't happen, which by design includes like any secondary effects of the move, but that also includes any item effects that would be triggered by the same move. So the Keyberry was not actually procced by
yeah,
the
that's
Hariyama, so the Farigiraf just died, and on the following turn, I think.
Yeah, that's a crazy
Yeah, that was
interaction. And yeah, just
pretty
just
funny.
I have now opened the final screen, and I now remember that this was also insanely close in the end.
Oh
Like
yeah, for
Slow
sure.
King, Glow King lived with like 5% health left in the last turn, and yeah, so that was a crazy match
Yeah,
there
this
between.
Titan at the end was pretty wild because it was a Scarf Alolan Persian, but the funny thing is, this was actually not Slush Rush Titan. This was Scarf Sheer Force Titan.
So yeah, that means that
pretty crazy.
Siroga likes his sheer force on his mons. So yeah,
so
that's
that Parisia Wrap had no chance of proccing its key berries.
So yeah, all right. That's a very very good start for Siroga into the season. And with that, we can move on to the second game, which was Gotchi against Gamer Not Found. And Gotchi, or as we used to know him by Fako Lako, got off to a very good start here over Gamer Not Found, who, by the way, is who I bet on to win the Division 2. I bet on Gamer Not Found. So I was very bummed to see him taking the big loss there on week 1.
I think this was another one where I forgot to bet on it, but I would have bet on Gallardia to win the division because I think that's like the try hard bet.
Yeah,
so.
for sure. Like, yeah, Gallardia or Gil would be like your first. Or if you were like, obviously you can't count out like Jortson, who is
Jortson is
on
definitely
shoot drip is also not bad. Moonlight also not bad. So Siroga obviously moving down from Division 1.
like
There's
Division
many
2
good
is
players.
just Division 1 light. It's just all of the Division 1 coaches you got power crept out of Div 2, along with historically already strong Division 2 coaches. So and then a few strong newcomers.
Yeah,
so.
like the NBA guys. The Oranges guy, very, very cool newcomer who we're going to talk about. But yeah, I mean, Gotchi wins over Gamer Not Found. Gamer Not Found can bounce back, and he better does because I bet on him, so he needs to win it. The third game we do have that just happened today. Scary Smoliv versus Skylaria with a huge like delay, unfortunately. But yeah, Smoliv, one of the most interesting coaches that we have in the league. So they get the win there against Gallardia, which is a very, very good win. So Gallardia off to a rough start.
He had to move his team to his phone because his cat was sleeping on his laptop. And in doing so, he forgot to change the Terra type on his Colossal. So it was supposed to be Terra Grass, but it ended up being Terra Rock instead. But he still ended up winning the game with Mega Gallade, which a lot of people seem to have a lessened opinion of Mega Gallade now. But I still think it's very good. Like it used to be the basically the GOAT of draft back in Gen 7. So
I mean, it's just an amazing mon. Like it's one
still
of those
strong.
mons. It's one of those mons where you just look at the opposing team every single week, in my opinion, and you just think, oh man, this thing just completely destroys them. If I somehow manage to get it in a good position where it can actually like get hits off or get a free sword stance, like there's so few teams that actually have good answers to it because it has the move pool to get around basically everything if it wants to. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of.
Huge benefit is that it looks really cool.
It looks
and
cool.
That is one of the most important things about.
And it gets like so many moves that I personally value a lot. Like Taunt Will-O-Wisp is like a huge deal if you can play a lot of cool sets with it that aren't just purely breaking. So
yeah, and also Shadow Sneak for priority can be really helpful.
Yeah, just a great mon. But yeah, good win for the Scary Smoliv there in week 1, and Gallardia off to a surprisingly rough start there, but I still expect Gallardia to pull that back eventually and at the very least make playoffs, and then obviously that's basically all you need, and all the cards will be shuffled anew. So let's see what happens there.
And then we also had the admin on admin violence with Spooks versus Leighton for week 1.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think
winning that one with the Silly Billy, the Squawkabilly, which was a defensive intimidate parting shot set with Terra Blast normal. That is the signature, right?
I would assume so. But
yes,
he didn't Terra. I mean, what else could it be? It couldn't be anything else, so it has to be the signature. unless he like just straight up broke the rules, which would be like less than ideal for an admin. But yeah, I don't think.
Well, no, but what I mean is, since it didn't actually Terra in the game, then I wasn't sure if it was
Yeah,
just like some goofy. Oh, right, but on the team, there's nothing else that could be the signature.
that's what I meant. Yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
no, it was definitely signature Garchomp. He saw Glass Shadows try to draft signature Dragapult in the
oh,
Wi-Fi division, and
no
he was
way.
like,
Did he
"Yeah, I
actually?
should go." Oh wait, you didn't see that?
No, I did not. I did not see
That was
that.
the whole thing where he had first pick in the Wi-Fi division, and like
Okay.
he didn't get on for a while, so
Oh.
people were pinging him, and then he got on. He said Dragapult, and then just went offline, and then
No way.
we were like pinging him like, "Hey, like you need to draft a signature,"
And he was like, yeah,
and
that
so
it is
that's
my
like so
signature.
part of the whole time where like people were shit talking him, part of it was because he like when people were like wondering why people weren't leaving picks in Wi-Fi, then he was all like, "Oh well, you see, I'm like really meticulous with my team building, and I wouldn't expect to be just to draft a Mon crowd to understand." So that's why I kind of poked fun at him because he says that he's really meticulous, but he didn't even read the rules before leaving his first pick.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
yeah, that was
that was just a
definitely
huge
interesting.
debacle, that whole
But
thing. But yeah, I mean, at the very least, Spooks knows the rules at the very least, and he did
yeah,
pick the Squawkabilly as his signature, which is a very interesting choice. Excited to see how he does with it. And yeah, he just got his usual win over Leighton. So I think these guys definitely have squared off before, and I don't
but
recall
also Layton has
Leighton.
a 50-50 chance on beating anybody that he plays. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter who it is.
yeah,
It's always like a coin flip
it's a
on whether
coin
he wins
flip.
or not.
Exactly.
So,
And yeah, Leighton is like, just to prove that point, he has played 2 games so far this season, and he's won one and lost one, which just makes
exactly.
sense, which is just exactly the expected value for Leighton. And that's so funny. Uh, let's just go to the all-time standings just to prove. Ah, damn, we don't have the win-loss thing anymore. But maybe we have it in the hidden sheet. Let me just check. I think we might have all-time stats. Don't disappoint me now. Where's Leighton? Yes. So Leighton in his PWC career, so far he has 36 wins and 36 losses. So yeah, just to prove the point even further.
Yeah,
Um,
and when you include the 2 games that were played in this season, he has 37 wins and 37 losses. So
Nice. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically the point we were trying to make. That's the life of the Leighton. And yeah, it really is that way. So he can play against Camel. He will have a 50-50 shot. But he could also
yeah, I
play
mean, he
against
beat me
like,
in BPL. Like, I think something possessed me and made me choke away every way that I could have won. But also, he did kind of style on me by bringing Grass Not Sock to
okay,
beat my
nice.
Mega Stalker. So
So yeah,
that was pretty funny.
Leighton is just, the reason is he has these really high peaks if he actually like bothers to focus for a match. Like if he is afraid of a opposing coach, then he will like go really, really hard, and he will go hard and prep, and he will actually focus for the match. But then he will play someone who, like in theory, you would think he's favored to beat, and then he just randomly like completely plays like
I
it's
mean,
his first time.
his showdown name is Choker Layton, so I
Yeah.
think that gives all of the information that you would need.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, Leighton, very interesting coach, and one you can definitely never count out anywhere. Next game for the Legion, our last season runner-up against Shoot Drip, who is the most unfortunate power creep we had for Division 1. So he just missed playoffs by 1 differential last season in Division 1, and that meant that he just got demoted straight up just because we had this insane power creep. And yeah, like you predicted preseason, Camel, you said for the Legion after last season, he basically
Oh yeah,
cheesed
I
his
said
way
that
through the
he might
league.
try to go 8 show again, and then and I was saying like he might not like get a repeat result, and he may like want to switch it up, but then again he might just like do the exact same thing. And sure enough, he drafted like a lot of the exact same mods that he got last season. with the main adjustments being that he got a weirder Sig instead of barbarical Sig because he lost to weirder in finals last season.
Oh,
And then he just added a Alamamala and Florges to his team, just to pretend to have some
I
bulk
mean, just
on
to
it.
pivot
I think,
around with them, right?
yeah, honestly, I would have just committed and gone like hard with the HO again. Like I would rather have like the Halucha and Jizing on here that he had last season.
Yeah, it's funny.
Um, and then last season he had Ribombi and Dustclops. Instead, this season he has Leavanny and Spiritomb. And then I
Yeah.
think the Silvally was also a new addition.
Yeah, so
And then
last season I
Trimecha was
remember
probably never.
he also had like the setup signature. He had like Torterra or something like that. No,
No, it was Barbarical. That was his signature.
Barbarical, yes, some shell smash thingy I remember.
Mhm.
And yeah, I was just noticing, I didn't even know, but he actually has these exact same top four as last season. He had the exact same mons. Mew, Ogerpon, Flame, Zeraora, and Mega Gyarados. He all had all of them last season as well. So yeah, that's
Yep.
something I didn't even know. Interesting. But yeah, he did end up losing to Shoot Drip, our Division 1 demoted coach, which is not all that surprising, I would say. That's
Mhm.
basically what you predicted. He might end up struggling a bit more with the power creep, with the coaches not being as susceptible to HO spam. And the next game,
And the next one, this was not actually Ronin. This used to be Fennec Master, I think, who
exactly.
lost to the Oranges.
Yeah, so another
So,
NBA loss. Fennec Master is a newcomer, one of the goons from the NBA, and he was actually or is actually in the NBA Division 1. Where he was like in the bottom half of the standings. So we decided to put him into Division 2 and against one of the most interesting newcomers we got. So we mentioned earlier in the Azure Division that we did not end up putting its Hydra here, despite its Hydra's application being quite impressive, because we received one application, one out of 160, that we found even more impressive, and that was the Oranges. So they really submitted replays that just showed, like, you can tell that they really know what they're doing. And yeah, that's why we did end up putting the Oranges here in Division 2 straight off the bat. And yeah, so far it seems like we made a good choice there. He definitely got a strong win over the Fennec Master
yeah.
in week 1.
And also, something interesting is that we have a number of, Tapu Koko plus, like, electric terrain synergy teams. Like, that's, usually a classic that you'll see in NetDex leagues since Quark Drive plus Koko is pretty strong.
Hmm.
But this team is pretty unique in that you have the Drifblim signature. So the idea would be to use the electric seed to trigger Unburden. But there is also an Alolan Raichu on the team,
Hmm.
which was actually brought to the game with the Life Orb Rising Voltage.
Hmm.
So certainly, yeah, and the Drifblim never came out, but I'm sure that was just Electric Seed combined with Terra something.
Yeah,
Um,
that is
but
a
yeah,
scary
an
team, this
interesting
one.
approach.
That is a very scary team, I believe. So yeah, we might end up seeing the Oranges do very well this season. I would not be surprised to see it. Um, by the I did pick Gamer Not Found to win it, but in hindsight, maybe the Oranges would also have been a cool hipster pick here. Then
Now the real pick now is Ronan Sting. Now that he
now
has
that
joined
he's,
the
yeah, but
Division
honestly,
Two, surely he will finally get a win.
maybe, I don't know. I mean, Ronan definitely is one of the favorites here, of course, but in this division, it's not so straightforward because you have many good
Yeah.
players here. So
Well,
he'll,
he got on VC last night, and I was like, like he was asking me for advice on the transactions that he wanted to make. I think he ended up locking them in, right? Yeah,
yeah,
I
he
see
did.
it
He has
on the doc
the
here.
on the rosters
Um,
page. You could see it.
mhm.
He did.
Yeah, so he was asking on like whether to keep Garchomp or go for the Zygarde. I also suggested the Cryogonal signature. and Kaffa Grigus, and then also Beware plus Ariados. He wanted to pick up the Metagross because he likes Metagross, and also he was like talking like, man, why is Scizor 15 points? That's like so expensive. Like, why is Metagross like 4 points cheaper than it or something?
Yeah, I
I'm like,
mean,
yeah, sure. It
Metagross
is
is
like,
one of those mons that definitely could move up because it's gotten a lot better, I think. Just knockoff
I
is a
also
huge
feel like
deal.
Scizor should be like 14 points.
Yeah,
Like
that's
15 is still
arguable.
high for regular Scizor. But yeah, Cofagrigus is great. That's why I suggested it, and then we were looking for a fighting, and he really wanted a ghost resist. So originally I was looking at Pangoro, but we're like, man, Pangoro kind of sucks for how expensive it is. And originally we were gonna get like Spinnerack as the 1 point Websmon because when you have 1 point left, just draft a Websmon.
Yeah.
But I was like, wait a minute, there's Beware at 1 point down, and that means you can get Ariados, which can actually do stuff unlike Spinnerack. Um, so you can just use it as like a grounded poison if need be. But he has like pretty good hazard removal with the Cryogonal and Talonflame, and then of course
I mean,
the
it did
Mega
Diancie,
Diancie.
yeah.
Um, you know, blocking the
Which you can cheese
hazard.
some
So,
hazard setups sometimes. But yeah, that is gonna be exciting to see how
so
we
it
will
was
do.
not foolproof because in finals last season I did bring the Swirlix into a Mega Diancie matchup. So
Yeah, that's crazy in hindsight. Why didn't it
yeah.
Gert just lead with the Mega Diancie?
So Gert did not lead with Mega Diancie, but the funny thing is I actually wanted him to lead with Mega Diancie because the game plan was either I get webs up or I basically trade Swirlix for Mega Diancie because I
Because of
had
the
an
Endeavor,
energy
yeah,
ball
of
on it.
course.
And I wait, no, it's not even Endeavor. It's
Oh.
I have like because I do have Endeavor on it, but the idea is that Mega Diancie gets 2-hit KO by Energy Ball because I
Mhm.
was max special attack modest Swirlix, and I EV'd it such that Mystical Fire, like even if it goes for Mystical Fire for some reason, it will almost like vast majority of the time. Like I think it will always do it if it's like max special attack, but if it wasn't full invest, then there was like a chance to not do it. But the idea is that my sash will always get broken by that, and then my unburden will still trigger, and then and then I can just kill the Mega Diancie, and then ideally I can get webs up if he does not have like Aqua Jet on Hisui and Samurott. Or if he does go to Hisui and Samurott, then instead of setting webs, I could just Misty Explosion on it to either just straight up kill it, or if it's AV for Spectrier, just like deal a ton of damage and then deny the spikes going up. Funnily enough, so when I was mocking ES for his finals game, because I got roped into helping him prep for that one, he offered a mock for mock. So I'm like, yeah, sure. But I had already scheduled my game for like that next day, so I ended up just hitting him up like 30 minutes before the game, like, hey, like, did you want to mock me? And he's like, yeah, sure. And I led Swirlix into his Hisui and Samurott. I got webs up, and then I Misty exploded, and it just died in one hit. The Swirlix Misty explosion.
Nice.
I'm like, oh, wow, interesting. And then I swapped him with Spectrier, so that was one of the mocks of all time. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a wild one. So yeah, Swirlix should be probably banned in future seasons. If you ask
yeah, Swirlix is too
Starvin,
good
at
for
least we
people.
should ask Starvin after Camel uses like Swirlix in one game, and then he's this is so
Yeah,
OP, man. Should be
yeah.
at least
Actually,
7 points.
in Division One, at the end of the draft, Sorbs had asked in chat like, what 1 pointer should I draft because he didn't know that he had like 1 point left, and I told him to get Swirlix, and he did. So,
Nice.
uh, we will see if the Swirlix. Well, for one, if he brings the Swirlix, and two, if the Swirlix puts in work. But he does actually have the Fortress, which I also had Fortress last season, so. There's a lot of parallels going on. Maybe he will win this season. Who knows?
Nice, but we are still at the Soul Division for now, before we
Yeah,
move
of
on
course.
to the Sacred, where we still have 2 games left, one of them being the Yasha Indigo versus George Sin. So George Sin, also like we said earlier, newcomer from the NBA, was on their PGP roster. We debated putting him in Division 1 initially, so he was
Yeah,
like,
but we just couldn't fit him really. So like,
yeah,
there was just not a lot of space to go around.
it was Division 1 this season was so crazy. It was insane
Hmm.
to make space for anyone. So Jordan did end up moving down to Division 2, where he faced off against one of the Division 2 staples, Yasha Indigo. So the Yasha Indigo been around like forever by now, played a lot of seasons already, and pretty much has been Division 2 the entire time and didn't miss playoffs there a single time. And he usually makes it like anywhere between quarter and semifinals. I think he has like
Hmm.
3 semifinal finishes already, but never
Yeah.
made finals or won. So maybe this season, but he did end up losing there to Jordan week 1, which is a good debut win for Jordan for sure.
Hmm.
Then we
And
have
then yeah, and then we had Gil taking a week 1 loss to the bug type expert Nightwing J.
yeah.
He was the only one to move up to Division 2 because we had a lot of people moving down to Division 2, so it
Mhm.
was hard to, like make room in here.
Yeah,
But
and notably the last season Division 3 winner, who is called Xats, I don't know how to pronounce it, Xatzale, whatever, did not
Mhm.
end up applying for the new season. So that's obviously one person that would have moved up that didn't come back. So we had to choose one person to move up, and out of all the coaches that do well in last season's Division 3, Nightwing Chase stood out because he had this insane run in the gym challenge, so with the monobug team. So that's the
Mhm.
reasoning behind him moving up. And
and
yeah,
it, and for that battle, Nightwing J decided to bring Trick Room with the Porygon 2, and that resulted in him winning the game. Also, he had a Terra Poison Guzzlord. I don't remember how much the Guzzlord did, but I'm going to assume that Gil got guzzed by the Lord, and
I mean
that
it
was
did click
the reason that we
knockoff
lost.
3 times, so that's
Yeah.
basically a GG by itself. If you get
Hmm.
knocked off 3 times, that's usually never a good sign, assuming it wasn't
Yeah.
like 3 times on the same one, which obviously could also be a thing.
Let's see. So Guzzlord knocked off the Cyclozar, then it knocked off again, killing the Cyclozar, and then it knocked off the Ditto's Choice Scarf.
Oh
So
yeah,
I would say that's pretty
that
good
is that,
value for the Guzzlord.
yeah, that is some huge value, I would say. So yeah, that is a surprising week 1 loss for Gil, but one should say that Gil is also washed as hell, so maybe it's not even that
Well,
surprising.
he can de-rust, I believe.
Yeah, I believe too, but he will have to de-rust pretty quickly
But
just because
he'll
the
have to do it
competition
pretty
is
quickly
pretty
because
strong.
he has to play Moonlight for week 2,
Hmm.
and then Gamer Not Found for week 3. I mean, this is another season where there's like no easy games.
Yeah, I mean, depending on which Leighton you face, you could count
Well,
that
yeah,
as an
well, that's the thing. Leighton is never an easy game, though. Like,
yeah.
honestly, I would rather face like half of the Division 1 players than Leighton because I feel like I have a better shot of winning
Yeah.
versus those people because Leighton is just a coin flip, even versus like whether you put him against me or you put him, well, maybe not JJ Games. I think Leighton beats JJ Games 100% of the time.
To be
Um,
honest,
but
like no disrespect, Leighton, but I could see Leighton just losing against anyone, to be honest. But on the other side, I can also see him winning against anyone. So that's just Leighton, the way I
yeah.
at least see him. It really depends on yeah how focused he is, and that's always the issue
But
for
you do
him.
have to keep in mind that JJ Games is the best in the world, so
Yeah,
there is always the possibility that you lose because of that those credentials. So
yeah.
got to keep that in mind, of course.
That's Absolutely true. So yeah, that is it for the Soul division. So yeah, interesting division, interesting results. Notably Gailaria and Gil, who are probably the most accomplished Division 1 players in the division, being 0 and 3 combined at the moment. And yeah, that only leaves the Sacred Division, and it's really unfortunate because it's getting really late. So I think
Oh no, yeah.
it's unfortunate. I don't think we will have time to talk about what happened there. So yeah, Camel, it was so nice for you to be here, and let's just not
Well,
talk about
maybe I think we might only have time to cover the first 7 games.
that. You know
We might
what?
have to leave off
You
the eighth
know
game.
what? I think you're right. I just saw that I might have 7 games in me at this point. Yeah. So no, I
Yeah.
mean, of course.
Well, of course, our eighth game that we cover can be the week 2 of ES versus Starvin Pig,
Oh yeah,
and
that is true. That is true. No, yeah. I mean,
and I did ask you who you thought was going to win, and you did say that you thought that Starvin was going to win.
between
However, that is
I mean
not what
between
happened.
ES and Starvin, not the season.
And
I never said
well,
Starvin will win the season.
that's what I
Yeah, yeah,
that's what I
okay.
meant. But in the
Just
game, ES
clarifying,
versus
just
Starvin.
clarifying. So yeah, I mean between
I mean,
that's
I don't
true.
think that either of them are going to win the season, but
That's also not my personal opinion. But yeah, I mean that is true. You did ask me who I think will win between ES and Starvin, and I did say that Starvin is, in my opinion, going to win it. Um, which
it was a really funny experience watching that game because ES wanted to be in VC for the game, and
ooh,
I was saying like, okay,
that's
like as long as people don't backseat, because like Mr. Grimes was also in the call, so I'm like,
yeah,
okay, I'm going to join the
that's
call, but I am going to mute myself, and I'm just going to sit in here and make sure that nobody talks, except for ES. I can confirm that nobody talked.
okay.
Um, except Mr. Grimes played some soundboard noises a couple times, I think.
That
But yeah,
sounds
but it was really funny because like off lead, ES just kept talking about how cooked he was. Because I think I may have ruined his mental state a bit because I think I went 12 and 0 against him in mocks. So he was like, "Man, this is like the worst matchup ever. Like I'm always losing this. I need."
there's no way you played 12 mocks with him. Don't tell me you played 12 mocks.
I forget how many it was exactly, but it was probably close to that number.
Holy shit.
And I did not drop a single mock. So he was he was really like demoralized. I'm like, okay, well, you got to remember, one, you're playing against Starvin and not me. So it's for one, he's probably going to bring some whack shit and not like, optimal stuff. And two, he's probably not going to like outplay you that hard,
Hmm.
and, like if at all. And sure enough, in the game, we were expecting him to definitely bring the Vaporeon, and then we were expecting him to bring either Shaman, which was the most likely, or the Mega Camerupt. Um, but he like we were like kind of thinking that he wouldn't bring the Mega Camerupt because he was like talking before. It's like, man, like why did I draft Mega Camerupt when there are so many rain teams? So we're like, even though Mega Camerupt is actually really good in this matchup, we figured he wouldn't bring it. So, but we were really surprised when he did not bring either of those. So his because he mocked against Ronin, and Ronin brought Scarf Kilowattrel versus him, which I think that like Life Orb Kilowattrel is way better than Scarf Kilowattrel here, but he was just losing to it because if you look at Starvin's draft, he has basically nothing for Kilowattrel. Like everything on his team loses to it. So uh, he brought in Assault Vest Vikavolt. But the thing about Vikavolt is that the strongest way that it can hit Kilowattrel is Terra Blast to normal. So he
Hmm.
brought AV Terra Blast normal Vikavolt, which doesn't even really beat Kilowattrel.
I mean,
Um,
just
that
straight
was
up doesn't
definitely
beat it
more.
if it has a roost on the
Yeah,
set.
if it has roost, then yeah, you just don't beat it. Like you can bug buzz on the roost, but you're like taking a lot of chip. I think the correct way to play this matchup into Kilowattrel is you have Vaporeon to kind of stall out the rain. And then if you're bringing Mega Camera ups, then you can set Manual Sun so that the Kilowattrel can't just like destroy you that way. But if you can stall out the rain, then it's like more manageable.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and then also like Shaman with Spadef, if it's not like Specs or Life Orb, then you can take like a Hurricane or something. But the main thing is you can like pivot that into Thunder and then go King Gambit on Hurricane and then threaten to kill with Sucker Punch. So, and then also Scarf Gengar was a possibility. So there were like a lot of like ways you could have approached it, but I feel like this is not the correct one. And then the other thing was that like Weird Year. So the weirder that I brought in Mox was Choice Specs Terra Dark, which kind of like destroys him. Um, but we were like, he's probably gonna try to bring some CM agility set because that's like he
Yeah, that's what
tries
he
that
does
way more
every
often,
time.
and it's really bad here. So I'm like, I don't want to bring that in Mox because like it's bad enough that if it is that set, then it's just straight up good for you. So it's better to prepare against an actual weirder set instead
What
of
the
like
hell? It's
whatever
Terra
bullshit.
Grass too. Like, what does that
And it's
even
so
do to our
not only
Caledon?
not only is it Terra Grass, but it is also Frisk. And apparently the reason that he put Frisk was because he was really scared of specifically Scarf Kilowattrel, so he wanted to Frisk the Kilowattrel, which
No, that's,
I don't know how that
oh
even
no.
helps. Um,
No,
but
this is
yeah,
Starvin 101. He literally bases his entire prep based off what happened in Mox. Like, it's he shuts
yeah,
off his
that
brain
is
completely.
exactly what
That is
happened here.
that is exactly what he does. Ronan will bring Scarf Kilowattrel, and then he will prep specifically to beat the Scarf Kilowattrel. You know what he
Yeah, so
did
and that's
in
the problem
season?
because Ronan is
Let me tell that
yeah,
one story just to display just how much Starvin offloads his responsibility to his mock partners. He was in finals in season 9, and he was facing a Samurott Hisui, and he did end up bringing no hazard removal versus this Samurott Hisui in the finals match, and sure enough, he did end up losing to the hazard spam in the finals. And then we asked him after the game, yo, how the hell did you not bring hazard removal when you face against the Samurai Tisui? And his response was, well, it wasn't a problem in the mock game. I was like, dude,
yeah.
you cannot.
I think I remember that one.
That's
So you
crazy.
told me about it.
But yeah,
Yeah, I feel like Ronan is one of the worst mock partners he could have because Ronan is a good player, but he is extremely quirky with the way that he builds. I think I mentioned that in the coach reveal where I think Belgians are just quirky when they build teams.
mhm.
Like, it's just a pattern that I've noticed. So
No,
when
not only when
Ronan
they
builds,
build teams, they are just quirky in general. They are just
they,
weird
they are
people.
just quirky in general, but
Yeah.
especially when building for draft games. So Ronan usually has a very unique approach when he builds for stuff, which can often like pay off a lot when he plays. For mocks, like it's usually so the point of mocks is not necessarily to like try to like when I'm mocking something, I'm not just going to like bring everything that I think is optimal. I want to bring things that I feel like are likely to come and are good to prepare against. And so obviously I could just bring some like complete crackhead sets versus somebody, but then like if I did that versus Starvin, then he's going to just
Yeah.
prepare versus like all of my weird as hell
Exactly.
sets. And then and then he's not going to prepare for the things that the opponent is actually going to bring. So when I try to mock with someone like and that was the thing where it's like when I was mocking versus ES, I wasn't just bringing like the team that I would like I was definitely bringing some sets that I would bring if I were playing the matchup. Like the Terra Dark Specs Weirder is definitely something that I would bring. Simply because Starvin is pretty random with the weirder that he brings, and oftentimes it's like not a very good weirder, which you would expect that he would be like the weirder expert after using it this much. But I think he might need to keep drafting weirder for a few more seasons to, improve those skills. Um, But yeah, it's like, for the like, remember when I was mocking you for the final game for PGP,
Hmm.
I was just trying to like guess what my like your opponent, like, you were playing Sorbs for that final game. I
Hmm.
was just trying to guess what he was gonna bring, and I ended up getting like basically everything right.
Yeah, most of it.
Whereas
I
the
remember
Terra Dark
you were the
Amulet
one
with
who got
T-Tar,
the Tita right, and
and then
I
the
don't remember
Blastoise,
it
I gave
exactly.
you like defensive Blastoise because you were like terrified of Shell Smash Blastoise, but I'm
Yeah.
like, look, he knows that you're just gonna be like spamming Mirror Herbs on stuff, and like defensive Blastoise is one of his best ways of dealing with like King Gambit, and I
Hmm.
think there were some other reasons. I don't
But
remember all
I
of
mean,
them, but
the thing is,
um,
I was really weak. My team was really weak to mixed Shell Smash Blastoise. I remember, just because
yeah,
my
it
way of
was, but
dealing with it
the,
was Slowking Galar, which obviously you can just LOL Earthquake that thing. So yeah, that was the reason I remember I was. But yeah, it definitely made sense the way you did it, obviously, and
yeah,
yeah,
because Terra Dark T-Tar with D-Dance was such a strong win
it was
con that I'm like, he's
insane.
definitely going to like build around that and
Yeah,
like basically have the rest of the
yeah,
team
yeah.
kind of like support that into
Honestly,
chip, and that's exactly what happened.
to this
But
day,
then Grand Bull was able
yeah,
to
yeah,
get the win.
definitely, yeah. The Grand Bull was insanely clutch there, and but to be honest, I still don't really know how I pulled out the win in that game because that was tough from the start. Like he got up, but yeah, that's not what this
I
thing is
think you
about.
had like all of the leftover good karma from me like getting absolutely fucked on every week. I think that happening to me just meant that I could pass like balancing good luck to everybody else in the team.
I
And
mean, I wasn't.
after I got flinched on that second to last game,
Yeah,
then it had to be balanced out by you winning the final game. So
I mean,
that's
yeah, I I did. I was paralyzed in the end, and there was one point where if I got fully paralyzed, I would have just lost the game. And
Mhm.
so yeah, that did thankfully did not end up happening. So yeah, that was
Yeah, I
definitely.
remember being so stressed with like the full pairs. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
man, you
yeah.
could
That
just
was that. I
completely
was too
stand
much.
out of this.
The entire game was just too much for me. I couldn't, like, this was the nightmare scenario that you ever want to be in as a coach. Never want to be in as a coach. It's like you don't want to have a team tour for the first time with your server and it being the final series after you made it all the way there and it being tied up 3-3 and it being a tense game last turn scenario where you are paralyzed and you need to make it through. Like that's the worst scenario anyone could imagine. And yeah, I remember I will never want to live through a game like that again because it's just not good.
The last time I was in that exact situation, I lost to getting crit 2 turns in a row. So I was just hoping that the same thing did not happen to you.
Yeah, and luckily, obviously, even though that doesn't really concern the Sacred Division, that did not end up happening to me, thankfully. But yeah, I mean, that was
Mhm.
the Starvin versus ES game, which didn't even happen in week one. We kind of took a
Mhm.
huge segue there. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's still justified because Starvin versus ES is a huge blockbuster game to rivals who are
Mhm.
very, very active on the server.
Yeah. I mean that's what everybody wanted to see.
For
So
sure, yeah. I mean, I would have even recorded it, but Starvin and I kind of
Mhm.
had a breakup. Like we used to be boyfriend and boyfriend,
And
so
boyfriend.
yeah. But we are not anymore. So he kind of is not. I don't think he kind of wanted me to record that anymore. So yeah, that's why it didn't
Mhm.
happen. But I mean, we can still enjoy him losing that match. Like I can only recommend everyone watch the replay. It's a great game. It's a great game. You can admire the Terra Grass agility Weirdier getting fucked. So yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, so
huge
week one,
recommendation.
there's not that much to say for my game. It is not for the faint of heart, I will say that. I find it funny how people were like shitting on Trannel's game for it being like they were saying that like he was stalling the game out when in reality Panda brought like 3 sub-toxic pressure mons or
Yeah,
something like
he
that.
was straight up.
Oh,
His game plan was PP stall. Like what am
yeah,
I supposed to do? Like, guys, I mean, okay, first let's just open the match. Like the
yeah,
first like 40, 50 games were just him being in this position. Like I find out, okay, this dude has like PP stall Raikou, PP stall and toxic stall Articuno, and I mean, I can only choose between like getting my team weakened or I just play around it slowly. Like there was not much you can do to speed that up a whole lot. So yeah, that's just what happened. It was a really interesting game. I enjoyed playing it when it happened. It was really fun. But obviously it took a long time, and yeah, for people who ended up watching, apparently it did take too long. So yeah, many people were unhappy with how it went. But yeah, it was a fun game. Was a good game. Unfortunately for me, I was in a good position in the end game. Definitely had the win there, but unfortunately, I was like I couldn't find the win when I had it. I was just
yeah.
completely
It's
exhausted
really sad
mentally.
to like lose a long game like that to just like a couple mistakes. It was like that for my game versus Litten in PGP,
Mm,
where I made like at least my mistakes were like towards the middle of the game, with me thinking that I had already knocked the Blissey. So I tried to set up this whole sequence that would force me to pass the sticky barb to the Blissey.
mm,
And then it turns out I hadn't knocked it yet, but I thought that I had. So yeah, and then later, not making a switch, which allowed Blissey to get to +2 Calm Minds, and then I was forced to sack a mod into it. And then those two things ended up losing me the game. This one was a more clear-cut thing where you basically threw as hard as you possibly could versus the Dondozo.
yeah, that
Um,
was pretty
but
bad.
yeah, that was pretty tragic.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. I mean, it was an end game. It was like his Dondoso versus like 3 or 4 of my guys, and it was clear that the Dondoso was hard for me to beat down because I lost the Flapple earlier because his Darkrai had Ice Beam, which I didn't necessarily expect. I expected it to have Focus Blast, but I mean, Ice Beam, fair enough, makes sense as well. I lost the Flapple to it, which was my only good way of beating the Dondoso. And then it was the end game. My only out versus it, so to speak, was the Encore with Skeledirge, which should have been a safe win. I had the win. I could have encored it before it killed my Skeledirge, and then I could have gone into Ordino and just 2-it KO'd it from there while it's still encored. But yeah, at the time, I didn't I didn't calc the damage that Ordino was doing to the Dondoso. I was just gouging from the damage that Skeledirge was doing when it was -1 special defense. I was like, oh man, Skeledirge is doing so little. I don't think the Ordino will do much damage to it. Completely forgetting, and you pointed this
Was
out
that
after the match,
unaware? Yeah.
that unaware was like, yeah, obviously not taking the
I think
drop
I
into
actually
account.
said it in chat as
I didn't.
well.
I didn't read the chat. I did not read chat at all during the game. I only read it afterwards. But yeah, so I
Oh yeah, yeah.
completely
On
missed
turn
that.
113, I said the fun part is Dirge getting split F drops doesn't even matter for itself. It only
Yeah,
matters for the audio in the back. Um, but
yeah, true. You did say that.
yeah,
Yeah, but
I guess
that I didn't read
yeah,
chat during the game because, to be honest, I have better things to do during the game. And
that's
yeah,
fair.
so that was one reason why I didn't go the Ordino route. But obviously, that was so in hindsight, it's so painful to know that you had this 100% win right there and you just completely missed it. Yeah, which is unfortunate for me. I even had another way to win this game. In all likelihood, would have been to after the Skeledirge went down. I could have
There's
gone
a
into
hook match.
Archeops
You could have, yeah,
and clicked
and
the
put a
head
rocket
smash,
smash.
which had a favorable roll to kill. It wasn't like 100%, but it was like 80% roll to kill on top of the 80% accuracy. So you are still favored to get the win there. That would have been the second best option. And then I had one option which will lose me the game every time. and that is to
Which was
go into
Corviknight, yeah.
Corviknight for no reason and let the Dondozo rest for free and never have a chance to kill it again. And yeah, so because I'm a genius, I chose chose to go with that. I think I don't
I think
can't I
I'm
can't.
guessing your reasoning was that it's low on PP. I'm just gonna stall it at a waterfalls, but you
That
forgot
is
that it can just curse up to +6 and then kill you.
that
So
is exactly what I was gonna say. Yeah, that was my thought process at the time. My thought process was, well, okay, yeah, I mean it's running low. Maybe I can stall it out. But then the first time he went for curse, I was like, dude, you are such a stupid moron. Yeah, it hurts. It hurts. But yeah, sometimes these things do happen. Would have been a nice win to have, but
it's hard
unfortunately.
to play everything correctly over the course of a long game like
Now,
that.
but yeah, that is true. But that is still different from like you played the entire game. It's gone like 130 turns. That's crazy. And you are in the position, and then you just like you make
Yeah,
this.
it's definitely really painful,
Yeah,
but
for
it
sure.
happens.
It happens. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that was my game. Was a fun game for sure. GG's to Kung Fu Panda. He definitely like um it was a nice game plan. It would have worked out for him really well if I didn't have the heal bell on Ordino, which luckily I did
Mhm.
have. So that was the only reason it
Yeah.
even got on for that long. But yeah, that was my game.
Um,
Then we
and
did
then
have,
speaking of the expecting him to have Focus Blast on Darkrai,
yeah,
I think it is completely respectable to, at all costs, avoid running a 70% accurate move.
yeah,
Which is why in my game I had the Shockwave for Uniclus.
yeah,
Because I could, so basically Reuniclus, so my team upon first glance just looks like straight up stall. However, Reuniclus was actually really good at making progress in this game alongside modest Life Orb Magic Guard Clefable. My Clefable actually ended up killing the Gliscor on turn 1, because he did not expect the modest Life Orb Ice Beam.
hmm
And that was very nice for me, obviously, because Gliscor was one of the more annoying things on this team.
yeah. I mean, Gliscor
And
is amazing versus stall usually.
but even if the Gliscor survived, my main way of making progress was with Reuniclus Psychic Noise, because if you look at this team, especially after the Dipplin goes for the Terra Poison, which I was entirely expecting it to either be Terra Poison Dipplin, or I think it was Terra Water Driplin. Wait, sorry, Dipplin plus Muck, because he really wants to have like a Sticky Hold Poison Mon that can switch into Toxapex and avoid getting knocked.
hmm
But Reuniclus with Psychic Noise basically destroys everything on this team except for the Iron Jugulus. And Reuniclus has two ways of hitting Iron Jugulus, which are Thunder and Shockwave. With Electric Terrain up, Thunder will OHKO Iron Jugulus, and Shockwave will 2-hit KO. But I'm figuring, like, I am never landing Thunder. Like, I am probably going to miss Thunder, like, 5 times in a row. So I just want the guaranteed chip on the Jugulus to potentially put it in range of the Torrentee or the Drampa, or maybe even like Scalds from Toxapex, or just like Shockwave it again. So I just wanted to like make sure I could get some damage all of the time when it switches in. Oh yeah, especially because like if I get Rocks up, and it was always going to be choice specs in this match, then I get Rocks chip. So after 2 rounds of Rocks chip, it dies. So I just wanted to guarantee that it gets chip. But people were like kind of flaming me for running Shockwave because they're like, man, just run Thunder. Like 70% of the time you just kill it. I'm like, well, I'm never like 30% of the time I get no progress. So
Hmm.
I would always
Yeah,
rather
it's
switch
it's it's
Shockwave.
it's like one of these things like lessons in consistency.
Hmm.
Like when you're in a position like Camel, then like Camel is one of those players who just doesn't want to lose, right? Like you expect Camel to win most of the weeks, and then like to have this high variance of Thunder is just not worth it for him most of the time, just because um, like is confident enough to know that he can slowly and consistently win an opponent down instead of having to rely like
Yeah, exactly.
on one nuke that maybe has to get a read right and then also has to hit them on. So that's like that can work, and it can be a lot quicker and a lot more effective in that sense in getting rid of the opponent. But it's like a thing that works 70% of the time instead of like 85, 90% of the time if you do it in a more consistent way. So that's one thing to maybe learn from that for many coaches. But yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
that was definitely a good.
Also, another thing that kind of pissed me off, but it was also really funny, is that he brought Dragon Breath on the Diplin just for the parachance, and he like gets it first when he gets it as soon as they go Drampa. Like,
Yeah, that's kind
it
of
just
funny.
instantly paralyzes. I'm like,
So
come
yeah,
on.
that's a
And then he
that's a
also like
strong win.
confused on the first Hurricane, so I'm like, okay, I guess I gotta switch out here.
That's a strong
'Cause
win
I
we
do not
won
want to lose.
because Jam is historically one of the more successful coaches we ever had. Only played 2 seasons, but in one of those he won the regular season in Division 2 and then completely screwed up playoffs there. But in his second season was in Division 1. He didn't do so well in regular season, but he instead ended up winning playoffs, so ended up winning the season. So he's a Division 1 champion. So yeah, that's a very, very strong opening win for the camel here. That's impressive, I gotta say.
Mhm. ES losing to Ozzy, like, it's kind of expected. Like, we haven't seen, like, I hadn't seen Ozzy play much before this, but considering he is like NBA top div and
He is
he's
one of
been
the top
doing
coaches there.
well, yeah, he's one of the top coaches there. So, I was kind of expecting this to happen. Also, this was the really fucked up Sneasel set, right? Where it was a fake out, protect, counter, and ice shard,
Yeah,
with Terra Ice. So
that's crazy.
certainly one of the sets of all time.
That's actually kind of funny. But yeah, Asi is yeah, like you said, he's a NBA goon. He is has been on their PGP roster. He also did do very well there, if I recall correctly, on the PGP. So yeah, definitely one of the interesting newcomers that are well deserved in the Division 1 and got a good win over ES, who probably ended up mocking Camel 38 times for that match. That's what I heard.
No, I
38
did not
times.
help him at all for
You did
that game.
help him and you mocked him 38 times. That's
Yeah,
what
of
I heard.
course.
Yes. All right.
Yeah, of
Moving
course.
on to the third game, which is Sorps, our newcomer from our finals opponent in the PGP, the NPDL, where he apparently is a 4-time champion. That's what he told me. And
Yeah,
versus
and then
the
we have the Papa Smurf himself.
Papa Smurf himself, yes, Polito Shark. So yeah, Sorps did end up getting a opening win there. Unfortunately, I didn't even see the match. I will just skip to the end.
So Polito Shark had the incredible idea of running rock polish meteor beam on every single mon. Um,
Okay,
so
okay, he had Necrozma. Oh, and he had Celestina. Yeah, that's why didn't he run Rock Polish Meteor Beam on Rhydon though?
I don't know. He does right
Yeah,
on
that's
Moon
why he
meteor beam.
lost. That's why I lost. I think like if you look at what's left, like Rhydon clearly cleans here. Like imagine he just takes the EQ and then he kills the crocodile with Meteor Beam, and then he clearly with Earth Power he would OHKO the Terra Electric Farigiraf. So that's just bad team building, I would say,
Yeah, I
for
mean, like
Polito Shark.
if you go max special attack modest, then that base 45 special attack, like
Yeah,
when you're at +1, it's not that bad.
it's
Um,
like easy to
like
overlook, right? But the good players know
yeah,
that.
because you can definitely kill Victini with that meteor beam. So
Yeah, and he definitely can kill Crocodile at 5%. So yeah, that was just honestly
yeah.
bad prep on the Papa Smurf's part. So that's why he deserves to lose this 2-0. And yeah, congrats to Sorps
Yeah,
for a
another thing
good
I noticed is
start
like
here.
you may notice the Celesteela getting chipped really low for the end of the game and getting taken out by the crocodile. I think that if Polito had run I'd say 500 HP EVs on the Celesteela, then he would have enough HP left over in order to take that close combat and then maybe get an autotomize and
Hmm.
you know win with beast boost.
Yeah,
So
that's
I think that running that extra like 300 HP EVs would have definitely helped out for this match.
So yeah, basically what we're trying to say is Polito Shark is a fraud. What worked in Division 4 will not work in Division 1, so you gotta better pull out the Meteor Beam Rhydon for next game. But yeah, we will get there when we get there. Then we do have the game against Starvin versus Caracasa Week 1. We're not gonna go too deeply in depth into that one, just because that, if you want to see it, you can check that out on the YouTube channel. We recorded it live.
Yeah, we even have some post-game analysis from the winner himself. I will not. Well, I would say I would not spoil who that is, but
I
you were
mean, it's
looking at
literally on
the
screen
result
right
right
now.
now. But for our blind viewers, you can figure it out later.
Exactly. So yeah, one of the guys won, and it wasn't Starvin Pig, of course. And so yeah, next game would be Radioactive Mayo versus Caddy Legs, which is a very interesting matchup. I hold Mayo in high
Because
regard as a player.
Cadillacs brought out the Trapinch,
Oh
and
yes,
the
there was.
Trapinch, I think
Oh,
it
there
trapped
was.
the Clodsire.
Yes, it
Well,
did.
yeah.
That was a very nice game. It's a little bit too long.
And then not only that, but he also killed the Pelipper, nicknamed the Drizzler, with Electro Ball Cinderace.
Yeah.
So that is always a classic.
The
I think it is one of the universal constants that Cinderace always has to run Electro Ball when there is
one
a
game.
Pelipper on the opposing.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it works against many of the bulky waters just because they tend to be really slow.
well, the thing is, Mantine takes like 30% from it, but if you're up against a Pelipper or a Swanna, or maybe like Gyarados takes like 50% from it. So, you can
Yeah,
use it versus Gyarados, maybe.
that was a really nice game. That was really well played by Cadillacs. I remember it. You can watch it out, check it out on Radioactive's YouTube channel if you want. Then we did have the Leonard versus Lonely Litten game where Leonard just completely got crushed. I didn't watch it, but I assume it was a very frustrating loss to Stall, as it tends to be versus
Um,
Lonely Litten.
yeah, there was a sub-coil 1,000 arrows Zygarde that put in a lot of work.
Oh yeah,
And then
yes.
also
Right. I saw
Slowbro
that
doing the
actually.
Slowbro things.
Never mind.
Yeah.
I did see that. So yeah, that was
It was
unfortunate.
actually a Slowbro mirror matchup where Leonard had the Mega Slowbro and Litton has the Rocky Helmet Slowbro. Um,
Yeah.
it is up to viewer interpretation which one is better. But I will say that Leonard's Slowbro never ended up Mega Evolving, so
Yeah, that's just kind of what happens a lot of the time if you run the Mega Slowbro. And yeah, the last game, finally, before we can finally wrap this up, because we've been going for over 3 hours now, is the Venom versus Nahima match. So Nahima is the owner and commissioner of the NBA and one of the strongest players there as well. I think this week he will be playing in the grand finals in the NBA. Good luck to him. And yeah, he did get a solid win there over Venom, who is a returning coach to Division 1 after doing very well last season. So yeah, I see a great Tusk in the final screen, even though it didn't click a move. Don't know what happened there, but
it switched in as the I'm not sure who Mark Cuban is. I think it's Garchomp. It missed Fire Blast and died to poison.
oh,
So
okay, yeah,
yeah,
unfortunate.
so actually Galarian Weezing, I think it got like 3 passive kills solely from T-Rex.
That's
So
nice.
it ended up being passive kill leader. Also, he brought it looks like so. I'm not even sure. So the poll revealed light screen, disable, and substitute. So I'm guessing like I don't know what the last move is.
Shadow Ball
It,
guaranteed.
it might be Shadow Ball. It might be
Yeah.
Hex. Those would be the most reasonable options. I don't think
Oh
that you
yeah,
would bring
Hex. Yeah, Hex would make
darts
sense.
into a Mega Diancie team. It
Nah.
could also be Infestation if you're a psychopath. But
Nah, I would.
yeah.
I mean, if you're running the T spikes and it's probably neutralizing gas, right, on the wheezing, I would assume. So that's.
No, it was Levitate Wheezing.
Oh, it was okay. Yeah. Anyway, I think if you're running the T
If
spikes,
there's a
then Hex
Garchomp, so you always run Levitate
makes
here.
sense. So yeah. Oh, it's Garchomp. Yeah, right. I was just
Mhm.
thinking if your game plan is the T spikes, then you might be neutralizing Gats just so Diancie can't bounce them back on you. But
Mhm.
yeah, that was a good win for Nahima on week 1. So yeah, that is the week 1. Then we have some results from week 2. We're not going to talk about Cadillacs versus Trannel because that was just a bad game. That is actually, it says 5-0 here, but that's not entirely true. That's actually a 3-0 win for me um, because
Oh
actually
yeah, he broke the
he
rules
broke
by
the rules because he had hail on one of his mons. Now he didn't end up using it, but that's like that. You cannot enforce rules that way. You cannot make it dependent on whether he used something or not. I got completely thrown off by the fact that he did have it on his mon because I just felt it, and hail is
Mhm.
actually somehow not a move anymore. So that's clearly unfair. So yeah, yeah, we have to follow the rules there, and that means that this
Yeah,
will
of
be
course.
a 3-0 win for me. Unfortunate for
Although yeah,
Cadillacs.
hail is actually allowed though, so
Yeah, but I mean, I still think like in the spirit of fairness, we will have to give the win to me there. But yeah,
yeah, I think that you deserve the win in this
hmm
situation
yeah,
because
for sure.
like
I don't
it
think.
wasn't fair because you didn't know that like hail was legal.
Yeah,
Because it's not like you're the owner of the league or anything, so
no,
you're not like, expected
no
to
one,
know
no one could
all of the
expect me to actually know
everything
the
that's
rules.
allowed.
Yeah,
So yeah, just like the hail being there, like they didn't even say it, but you just knew that it was there, and that
exactly.
just like contributed to you losing the game. I mean, really, like you lost from the start. There wasn't even a chance that you could win this game, so that's why you should get the forfeit
I
win.
wouldn't even go that far. It was just that at the point I felt that the hail was there. I basically knew, okay, I got this 3-0, and then I just pretty much like sped up the game to make it go over quickly. And yeah, completely shocked to see the 5-0 standing there. That should not be there. That is a misunderstanding of the rules. All
Um,
right.
Because actually, a lot of people may not know this just from looking at the results, but as soon as the battle started, it actually started hailing in real life outside
On
Snell's
outside of
house.
my house.
So really, I think that Cadillacs should not only take the forfeit loss, but also be sued for property damage. So that there is that. Insert Cadillacs emote.
Yeah, but for real though, that game was like, uh, even in hindsight, I mean, clearly I could have played it better. I could have made some decisions better. Some of them are like, it's easy to say in hindsight, of course, but um, I mean, I did make some embarrassing plays like Supercell slamming into Gligar, even though it was super obvious it was going to come in. But yeah, I mean,
Although
even
you
in hindsight,
didn't
I
know
don't
that
know how to win it.
Supercell
Yeah,
like
I
did the
didn't.
mutual you hidden ground types. Like that's why it's so bad. It's really
Uh,
unfortunate.
yeah,
But
I didn't know that this worked this way, but even then,
it's like I jumped into a
I
ghost
didn't
type.
have any way to hit the Gligar or do anything to it because I didn't have any knockoff on my Thunderous, which was just bad because I had defog on it because because of the iron defense on Avalok. I didn't want to run Rapid Spin on it. So I had Defog on Thunderous, which in hindsight I should have been knockoff on it. I had, of course, the Weather Ball as well, with the idea being that once the hail is up or snow is up, I can kill the Gligar when it comes in. But yeah, that obviously that's also hard to pull off because Cadillac obviously he's not an idiot. He knows that this is likely gonna come. So yeah, I mean,
I think that if I were you, I would have brought Magic Bounce on my Hisuian Avalugg because that way I can always switch into Gligar and bounce back the hazards. So I think that's something worth considering for future games.
yeah. I mean, even in hindsight, I'm not exactly sure how to win it because the Sneasler was completely useless. This matchup, like between Slowking and Gligar, it's not gonna do much. Um, and
Mhm.
yeah, that was rough. And then the Lele was really good. I did not play Lele that well. I could have positioned it better. I could have made progress into his team once I got rid of the Empoleon, which was not like Empoleon took like 47% from Psyshock, which is crazy. So I could have positioned the Lele better, I think. But in the end,
Yeah, I think
between the
one of my first
Arctovish,
thoughts when looking at this matchup is I think Specs Skeletor could have been pretty strong here because he doesn't have
yeah,
really
he did,
answers
he
to
didn't
that.
he didn't have good answers to Skeletor. The problem is that the Arctovish, of course, I don't really have any good answers to it in return. Like I have the lantern, which is like, yeah, that's a lantern, right? Um, but yes, the Skeletor was very, very good in this matchup. I was also planning on winning with it. As you can tell, it didn't really work out that well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was Specs. Yeah, I can see it. But then again, like I said, the Slowking can just chilly, like come in and chilly out, which is I mean, I
Well,
guess
that's the main thing
Shadow
because
Ball, yeah, yeah.
Specs
That's a good idea.
Specs Torch Song into Torch Song or just Shadow Ball into Shadow Ball, like
Yeah,
it does enough damage that like if it does chilly out, then even if it lives, it's so low that it can't do it
yeah,
again versus like
yeah,
anything. So
yeah, yeah. You're right. That's a good idea. But I did not. I mean, to be fair to myself, I also prepped in 10 minutes, so
yeah,
I did not.
that's fair.
I did not see that. But yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe if I somehow still make playoffs, then I can try it. All right. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
if you
that
make playoffs in Cadillacs, forget everything you just heard. If you are listening, if you have
hopefully
somehow gotten to the 3 hour mark without falling asleep,
there's no way there's not a single person that will listen to this from like the beginning to the end without like I don't know washing their dishes or whatever you do on the side.
Mhm.
There's no way. It's just way too long. All right,
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
let's
maybe
finish this.
tomorrow I can listen to this back while like doing laundry or something. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. We have Lonely Litten taking a loss to Venom on week 2, which is, in my opinion, like Venom. He's a good player definitely, but I think Litten is really strong, so it's surprising to see him take a loss here. Jam is making the comeback after losing to some fraud on week 1. He won against Sorbs, which is a really, really good win for him. And then obviously, Arcee got completely destroyed by Terrapagos by Leonard today. Which is good to see Leonard come back after the big week 1 loss there. So yeah, that is that's it basically. I think we covered almost everything. Do you have any closing words? And I also need to go to sleep. Normally at this time I'm already asleep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think we have covered more than we needed to. But
Yeah, for sure.
uh,
We spent like this is 3 hours, I think. So 1 hour of the 3 we spent on Wonder Division, and then and then we went through all the other divisions like reasonably fast. I think I
mhm,
have some ideas. Like this could be really cool. Next time, I think I'm gonna like now while you were talking, I kind of messed up by not playing the replays as you were talking about the games. I will do that next time. But
mhm,
yeah, I still think it's gonna be a cool video. Hopefully, uh, everyone can find stuff from their division to watch through and enjoy. And yeah, thank you,
mhm.
Camel, for joining
Yeah,
me.
since we did like 1.5 divisions this time, maybe we could do one like after week 3 to cover like the other half of week 2 and then
Yeah,
week 3. Or maybe we would just wait until like a mid-season recap, I guess, like after week 4. I
it
don't know. We'll
depends.
figure it out.
It depends, yeah. On I wouldn't do this alone because it's just way too boring. If
Mhm,
I'm just talking about it alone and you need someone to talk to. So yeah,
mhm.
whenever you have
But I'm
time,
gonna be
basically, and I
pretty
can
free
make it work.
because I have like the rest of my exams finishing up next week, so I'm
Hmm.
just gonna have a bunch of free time
Hmm.
after that, which is pretty cool. So,
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. So then all the best for your exams. And
thank you.
yeah, guys, thank you for watching and see you in the next one. Bye, guys.